when someone comes on my channel and they ask me super basic questions, literally, I swear to fucking God, I'm not exaggerating, 15, 20 times a stream. I want to be that person all the time that answers the question, but oh my God, does it fucking annoy me sometimes when, I don't know why it does. It's just like, you know what it is? It's widespread enough to where I know that me answering this is just like, it does nothing. Like, it just doesn't do anything.
Is there any particular history in video games you'd like to relay to me? Any accomplishments, accolades? I'm interested in knowing your background.
Yeah, I mean, I play competitively with a team of friends. Way before me, it's a long time lasting team of friends. We just called Team Omni. I joined them in roughly around probably the end of Battlefield 1, and then we didn't play Battlefield 5 because no one else did. I've competed in, well, most recently, and probably most notably, a game called Gundam Evolution. It's a 6v6 hero shooter. We won almost everything in that game aside from a few shitty performances we had and mistakes. That game was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it's being shut down because, well, Bandai Namco decided it would be an awesome idea to region lock the game upon release and then kill it with microtransactions. Excuse me, they locked characters behind microtransactions, which no one liked, so that's really fun. But yeah, played that game for I don't know, maybe, well, since it released to right now. I think I'll play in the last tournament they're holding for it before they shut it down. Just for funsies.
Okay.
Actually, hold on, I can copy paste shit to you. This is essentially what I've officially, I guess, competed in outside of like internal practices. It's nothing like crazy, but I just so that directly from my Twitch.
GNL Breakout Series. What is GNL?
GNL was just a tournament organizer within Gundam Evolution.
Okay.
So any of the Weasel Cup, any of the Creature Cups, that's just a bunch of people coming together and just holding the tourney.
What's your specialization and background?
What's my what?
Your specialization and background. Your specialization of game and your particular background of game.
I just play really whatever I like, mostly Battlefield, and then I played quite a bit of Counter-Strike before I started streaming. I played, I don't know, maybe 3,000 hours of CS, and I played a bunch of Team Fortress 2. I mean, this is all when I'm like, I don't know, maybe 14 or 15 or so.
How old are you now?
But yeah, mainly Battlefield 2042. Just all Battlefield games generally.
Okay. How old are you now?
25. I just turned 25.
Okay. Tweets. Work against my notes. Okay. We are here to discuss. And I'm assuming that nothing's been moved, nothing's been blocked. Everybody has access to information. Okay. So. And
by the way, I'm doing this because I don't know. I just kind of want to. I've never really seen anyone with your opinion, so I just kind of want to talk to someone with your opinion, honestly.
Fair enough. Go all the way back to your first thread. The one that you uploaded at... Come on, XAVI. Elon hasn't shit up this website too bad, has he?
Yeah, I don't know. It's called X now, so...
3:30 p.m. on the 25th of July. You can't do anything remotely close to this in 2042 because they remove legacy mechanics and lower APM in general. Like
yes.
Weapon switch, which cancels the visual recoil of a revolver, and places the sights in the center instantly so I can hit the shot. Doesn't seem like much, but the little things are what makes games. That is 100% true. I'm going to ask you a question. Have you heard of the melee proxy?
No.
Are you familiar with the mechanics and concepts familiar to Smash Brothers Melee?
Nope. That is one thing I've never delved into. I've never really. I highly respect fighting game players, but I've never actually played one myself seriously.
Okay.
But I'm fully aware of how incredibly difficult some fighting games are. You mentioned Sonic Fox in one of your videos.
Yes, it did.
I don't know, I really like watching all sorts of fighting games. Mainly Mortal Kombat, because I'm a fucking casual when it comes to fighting games. But yeah.
Do you mind if I tag you in this tweet that is promoting this stream to both of our audiences?
No, you can do that.
Okay. Because I have to give a background for myself. My background is definitely in fighting games, but also as a part of when it used to be respectable esports, unfortunately. And I don't mean this derogatively towards you, but esports as a whole, especially when you think of the mainstream esports, this is just dog water. It's just non-existent dog water. Because on one hand, to give the example you gave, you have a fundamentally fine and functional game, and then a company decides to come along and say, actually, this way that you're playing the game, we decided we're going to change it. Or,
oh, it's great.
We decided we're going to shut this off from your region.
Love that.
We don't like that anymore. Same with Riot Games. It's the same with Activision Blizzard, which now is Activision Blizzard King Microsoft, unless somebody busts. Yeah. Unless somebody busts
sure, that'll
that
go
deal.
fine.
With the exception of things like Hi-Rez and Titanforge, part of the same company, but it's just a different division that specifically handles Smite. You usually don't get to see an esports scene that actually can thrive and survive the way that the FGC can, because the majority of the time, the companies make the game specifically to go viral because they're all hopping on the same trend. And when it doesn't work out for them, which is ironic because they did make Realm Royale, I believe Hi-Rez did.
Yeah.
That was their attempt on Battle Royale. If it doesn't work out with the craze, they just kill the game. Or, in the case of Here's the Storm, they outright destroy its scene by canceling it and funneling all the money into Overwatch League.
And then Overwatch League.
The less said about Overwatch League, the better, because that company does not deserve respect.
Yes, I agree, actually.
And it's not even the Blitzchung angle. It's the you destroyed your game because you wanted
that
to
is,
make,
you literally killed your game.
You wanted to make the game to be a tournament scene so that it could be purchased directly by tournaments.twitch, and it turned out people don't actually watch or play the game in the competitive sense, which is actually a bit of the argument. But to get back to the thing that I was saying before, the Melee proxy. Melee is a game that is played by, at this point, a dedicated few, whether it's between the original game itself or Project M. To understand how to play the game competitively, if you want to compete and win at a tournament, you must learn all the mechanics therein. You have to learn about the iframes. You have to learn about your hurt boxes and your hit boxes. You have to learn about the originally hidden mechanic, but now revealed mechanic in Ultimate, where if you spam an ability multiple times, it gets deep factored by a factor of 10 up to a maximum of 10, which means your kill threat for your true combos from whatever percentage your combo for the character is made for will no longer work. This is a similar concept in any fighting game, but in Melee specifically, which is ironic enough with Guns the Duel. Have you ever heard of Guns the Duel? Not Guns the Duel 2, Guns the Duel, the first game.
No. Actually, yes, I have heard of. Yes, I have. I have not. I've heard of it, strictly heard of it. Never seen it. Ever. Never seen that game.
Okay. When it comes to Melee, we always discuss Melee in the concept of what the game is capable of and what it has developed into in the pro scene. So, an example I could use from this year alone is the current EVO that I believe is going to be had in August at the Luxor in Las Vegas. Okay. This relates to the Skullgirls thing. Skullgirls is a game that is literally dead. 200 concurrent players is not a live, thriving player base.
Yeah.
It's changed specifically because the placeholders, because they're not the original runners of the game, they already fired one and ran the other one who was responsible for the original art out, decided they wanted to censor the game. Not a censorship take, but it is a tournament scene take. It's an old game. There are multiple other games in the scene.
Much like when Melee was a part of the main stage of games, people kept bringing it back because it was a fan favorite. But eventually, the game has to be dropped because, in the case of Melee, this is a game that is very niche. It's an old game from the GameCube. To learn these mechanics, you have to learn the mechanics. For those mechanics to be learned, you have to be willing to put in the time to learn them, but you also need somebody, if you don't even know what it is that you're looking for, to give you the information or to help you figure out the information to do so. Community effort. People didn't want to play Melee on the stage anymore, or didn't want to see it as a part of the main showcase, because they got to the part and the problem where the top 8 players were always the same top 8 players. And by that I mean, there were no new players coming in to the audience of the game. The ones that were there that were willing to put in the time weren't getting showcased because they just didn't have the audience to do so. They had to promote each other. There's a whole thing. One of the few things that the fighting games community tends to do well, whether it be Yipes hyping you up in the middle of a contest, or Marlin Pie happens to come to your friendlies and he wants to do a match with you just because he liked your particular combo. What have you. Money match on the internet, or even from a discussion like this, where I've actually challenged Sonic Fox and he actively ran because I called him out once about how he chose to use the round robin system to try and scam a 50-50 mix-up, because the player in question likes to use aggressive chase down compositions. If you've seen any of his tournament
Yes,
playing,
I've seen him play
yes.
throws caltrops in that one game.
I think his most popular combo for, let's say, DBZF is his Android 16. That's D though, right? Red hair.
I'm talking about Mortal Kombat. He played
Mortal Kombat 2. He's played multiple games. He's usually
Okay,
playing
yeah.
technical champions like that. He's gonna play things like Melina and
huge corner pressure, massive fucking
Yes.
combo damage. You just die basically.
yes, this is a hyper aggressive player who's all about the 50-50 mix-ups, to the point that that's how he chooses his teams specifically for tournaments. It's something that we've known that he does because we've studied it, because we all study our own games. He will try to find a game that has a either not well known about or not quite yet patched combo system, or a very broken team for Rushdown. The most notable examples being his performances for DBZF. He will try to compete against them, and when he does not win with those techniques, it is a system that if he is able to get it to work out the way he can, because the way he does it is that he...
So he's looking for specific circumstances to abuse in order to gain an
Yes.
advantage and win.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
This is not all related to the Melee concept, but this is relating to it, to put it in the mindset. This is the other thing that we were discussing.
He does that?
Yes, he does. We've actually confirmed it.
How many games are there even out that you can even look at?
Because he's a competitive player that is signed, I think right now he's signed to Evil Geniuses, we can look up all the tournaments he's ever been in, and we noticed the pattern. It started becoming a pattern when he did it first in Injustice 1, and it followed him through every single game. He creates a hyper rushdown team with extremely powerful corner pressure and with dirty mix-ups, and he has a braggadocious style of antagonizing people on the internet. So he will go into
I've seen that.
He will go into the situations, and he is covered favorably by places like the Score and the Dot, because they're all people that have the same perspective, but that's besides the point. He goes into these competitions with these particular setups, and he puts himself into the loser's bracket on purpose by losing. And he pulls out his draft teams to be able to win enough of the losers' matches to possibly be able to get put back into the grand finals or the semifinals using his particular team. It is a round-robin 50-50 style that either works out for him and he places high and or wins, or he ends up having an event where he gets dog-walked like he was in DBZF by Dagora on stage and can't be able to walk that one back because of the way that he chooses to behave. Doesn't mean that he's not a good player. Dominique is an extremely good player. We just don't like his fucking personality because of the way he plays. Now, finish what I was saying about Melee. To finish what I was saying about the Melee proxy. The game has a very focused audience, a very focused community. To be able to get in, you have to be able to be willing to put in the time. But because the game is old, especially in the case of Ultimate coming out, because the game is old, and there will be new games that will be released, eventually it comes to the attention of the staff, of the competition, of the convention, and of the scene, that eventually the game will have to be retired. Whether it be sunsetted because it's finally time, a new edition has been released, so in this case moving from Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath to Mortal Kombat 1, which is a stupid fucking name, you will eventually replace the game because it's just time. Or
Yeah.
Or, like I said, the top 8s are always the same top 8s. The same players are always playing against each other and competing against each other, and or winning or losing against each other. And eventually, that game will either have a casual, because usually people, when they say a game dies, they usually leave out the casual. The casual game will die. But because the majority of the people who are playing the games casually, in the greater sense of FPSs, this is more common than with an MMORPG or with a fighting game. Because the casuals will walk away from the game if it doesn't interest them, like it, or because of particular interaction that they may have had in the game. They will walk away from the game, and then the scene is left to feast or famine off those remaining players and whatever events, whatever companies, whatever orgs, and whatever storylines are made from the behavior that they have on the internet and how they go into events. Any person who's ever watched a video from Legit Lewis or Dustin Thorin Shields knows this. It's why most esports are boring, because you have a company that's owned by Chinese companies that want you to play a game, but in order for you to play the game, to really, quote, play the game, you supposedly need to have a $1 investment to be able to go to a Korean server. Why? Because the NA servers are always shit. Why are they shit? Because most of the players are bad. Why are the players bad? Because the players don't know how to play the game as well or on the level of that particular region where they choose to do boot camp in. Why is that? Because most of the players are casual. The general answer for most of the woes for something like an FPS, which is where you push back against my opinion, is that most people are going to be casuals. They're going to play a game, they're going to go into the game, they're going to try it out. Weekend warrior,
yeah, of course,
player, whatever. You're going to go into the game, you're going to see what it's about. It's kind of like the beginning of when Fortnite came about. They learn about the game, they get into it, probably goes viral because of people like Ninja playing with a bunch of fans, a bunch of kids start playing it, but then you start seeing more people come in because of the space starting to grow. They want to try to build things, kind of like Keemstar making his daily Fortnite special, that tournament that he was trying to run. They try to make events for themselves, whether it be player ran or they be community hosted, which ironically enough, you don't see enough of that happening, because most of the time the only people who are trying to do things like that tend to be the communities of things like old school RuneScape or companies like Jagex or particular companies that will host it for something like Path of Exile with streamers like Scissorin or Steelmage or whatnot. Not sure if you know about the AVRPG scene. You mentioned you were playing Diablo, would have thought it would come up. But
to be honest with you, Diablo is my first ARPG, and the only reason I played is because FPS games are so fucking unbearable for me right now. I'm like, all right, well, let's play Diablo 4. I'm having a great time, honestly.
Okay. I've
never played any other ARPG before.
I have no strong opinions about Diablo 4 because I've already written off Blizzard, but from what I've seen,
oh no, that's fine. I completely understand why you would do that.
Like it's a worse Path of Exile, and I already play Path of Exile. So that settles.
Yeah, I've heard shit about Path. See, I'm full fucking normie casual when it comes to ARPG. I'm here to kill some demon, right? That's what I'm here to do.
Mm-hmm. So ultimately, the thing that ends up happening at the end of the stage is that most of, not all, but most of the general scenes of any particular game is going to filter down of one of those holes. It'll end up like a game like Mordhau or like For Honor, where a bunch of people will play it. They may get interested in it or not. It develops a very heavy scene of sweats or elites. The elites become the prevailing minority voice that is usually superseding the majority voice of the silent majority. People get a general feel of what the game's environment or attitude is, or they get put off because of an interaction, and they never play the game again, or they don't play the game at all. And then it exists in that ecosystem where the majority of the time when we see a game die, in the casual sense, it's usually because of that. Or it becomes a game like Eternal Return. Have you heard of Eternal Return?
No.
It is basically a battle royale, but anime characters. You, instead of needing to find weapons on the map to fight with, you have to make the weapons. So it's crafting.
Oh fuck.
It's a crafting system. It's very anime weeaboo. But
yeah,
it is skillful in the sense that the entire community of players have decided that within like the first 3-ish minutes of the map, especially if they're not sweating, they will not fight each other directly, so that everybody has the ability to build the weapons. Because most characters, they don't function. It's kind of like any other MOBA. It's kind of like if you took a isometric top-down FPS, but it played like I'll use League of Legends as a proxy example. It played as if you had an isometric top-down game that was an FPS, but it's kind of like League of Legends, but it's more like an Overwatch hero shooter. Kind of like Battlerite, another game that has died, ironically enough, when they went down its own timeline of events. You have to go around the map. Everybody agreed that they're not going to fight each other in the first levels. It can be a general amount of fun. You can get a case like that, where the game exists, it has a very niche audience that plays it, but of the niche players that play it, every so often, a Scarra comes along, I'm a Cutie Pie comes along, what's the other? Not Sneaky, is Jungler. Meteos comes along to the game, you know, a Lily Pichu, a Nanners, any of the VTubers that people happen to be who happen to like, they come along, they discover the game, they play it, then the ecosystem starts to possibly team a little bit with some life, a little bit of people here and there whenever the Korean developer decides they want to actually have the ability to have a ranked ladder, because it's extremely hard to get ranked games in that lobby. Most of the time, the solos and the duos are not as popular as the trios, and the team gameplay is what it's based on.
It's just like PUBG, no one plays duos or solos. Everyone plays squads, even solo squads.
And then, of course, you have your regular run-of-the-mill weekend warrior type games. I'd use Apex Legends as an example, because I feel like Apex Legends is a healthy place where people who come from a COD background, but wanted to have something more like Rainbow Six Siege, or what's the other fucking hero shooter game that's out there? Valorant, where they, instead of needing to learn how to play Counter-Strike, for example, they instead basically have, I'd call it COD Lite. There's a bunch of information on the screen that some players will have to learn how to use over time. Not a big fan of their crafting system, but it works. Their system works.
For Apex,
fine.
you mean?
Yes, for Apex.
Yeah.
The system works. It's fine. I don't like the idea of having rotating gears that are chosen through every day, but it's a battle royale. You can be able to literally drop a lobby, get into another match, even if you're in the ranked games, if you wish to. It's what it is. That game, you have people who can play casually, and people who play competitively. You have those like It's Timmy, who can play competitively on stream, makes a series where he specifically makes content where he climbs from the lower elos all the way to Predator. It can usually be games like that. Old school RuneScape is like this. Technically, there are scenes where Maple Story is like this, if it's in a private server. There are plenty of games that have a philosophy like this. Most of the time, they fall into one of those three dichotomies. When I gave my take on Twitter, that was the dichotomy I'm speaking from, because I've developed some of those games. I'm responsible for a bunch of MapleStory private servers. I'm responsible for a bunch of fucking COD environments. I was big on COD when it was still on the Xbox, or it took the jump to PC. Big on a bunch of MOBAs, a whole bunch of MOBAs, especially being one of the original founders for fucking Smite. It tends to be like this. And it's usually like that because of...
My friend would love to talk to you. He loves Smite.
Does he? What champion does he play? Technically, they're called gods. But what
Couldn't tell you, but off the top of my head, is there a Zeus in the game?
There is a Zeus.
He plays Zeus.
The mid laner.
Yes.
My condolences.
Is that bad?
No. Mid lane is an extremely hard lane to play. Any solo lane in any MOBA ever is always going to be a hard. It's going to be a hard
especially
lane to play.
when you're in between. Oh, dude, top bot, jungle, all that. You just get. Yeah.
I mean, you can learn any other role. You can learn any other role. My headset's off in a second. You can learn any other role in the game. Any MOBA is like this, but unfortunately, with the exception of League of Legends, it can be hard to learn those roles because you'll have to learn everything from scratch. And when it comes to Smite, the hardest line people will have to learn is not necessarily learning the jungle, but learning the jungle timers.
Yep.
Anytime you need to farm side camps, anytime you need to step off and know when something spawns to be able to defend it, knowing the actual routes around the jungle, where your champion, if it has a leap or a dash,
Understanding positioning when you're overextended.
And it's always worse because Zeus is a character that is heavily punished by positioning. You do a lot of damage, but he doesn't usually get to do it because every single other mage in the game, with the example of like Giannis, does what he does but better with more maneuverability. But that's an entirely different discussion. They all tend to go along these lines, where you will have people that will have a very hyper-core audience of casuals, and then above them, if you wanted to flow it like an ecosystem, you'll have the casual players, you'll have like the weekend warriors who might be a little bit seasoned professionals, seasoned veterans that come back for the content updates. I know this is the case with things like Warframe. You'll have the people who are above them, which are going to be the semi-pros. They might stream occasionally. Maybe they have streams where they will play with their friends. Then you have above them, like the more seasoned professionals who will be responsible for like community outcroppings like we do in Smite with the Book of Thoth. Usually they might be one of the semi-casual or professional players like the other Frost or Final K, whether they're on a team or not, or they're adjacent to the league or not, that will have a hand in writing particular sections and knowledge of the books. And then you have above them the super sweats. But I like to divide them further in that line between those two, between the toxic sweats and the non-toxic sweats. Because like the example I gave on the timeline, if, for example, in this conversation that we had, where we were going back and forth, not even gonna fucking stress about the, I'm not gonna read this or do that. In the conversation we had back and forth, if there would be somebody who could come along after a match, they beat you. You started up a game, played for the first time with your friends, or you're a semi-casual player, you play something like League, go into a game, you try to play ranked, you lost the match, the enemy's like, bro, you tried your best, but whatever you're doing in lane, that's not going to work against my playstyle or against this champion. I'm going to tell you why. Whenever this happens, there's a division between the toxic pro and the non-toxic pro.
The toxic pro doesn't take feedback.
No, the toxic pro doesn't take feedback. And sometimes it's not even necessary that they take feedback. You could be the person who beats them, you could be the person who gets beaten. Toxic pro, they're going to talk shit up to you, play up for content, throw it on the timeline, put it in the montage. Oh, I totally own this fucking kid. Shit, lol, rip. But if the person were to come and they have the ability to speak, because they very rarely ever do, if they have the ability to communicate to them, and it's like, bro, I literally started playing this character. This character was released. Neferi is a perfect case example. Have you played League before? Do you know about the League updates that happened within like the last week?
No. I have watched too much League. I have actually never played it. I'm very weird. I just play what I play.
The more the better. The more you stay away from League, the better. Right? Doesn't need your money.
That's what everyone is told.
The TLDR. There is a new assassin released to the game. Her name is Rafiri.
Oh, I know you're gonna talk. Yeah, okay.
I'm just using that as an example. I could use Akali as an example, but I believe it's easier if I use Neferi.
Yeah, Neferi's
Yes, she's a champion, but
she is certainly a champion.
Riot has a playstyle that they want to promote. It is the Akali assassin that can dive into 5 people, has infinite camouflage because they have never patched or fixed how stealth works in the game. They've taken away the ability to have control wards, formerly stealth or vision wards, be able to permanently reveal stealth in their range. For some champions it works like this with Evelynn, but it does not for Akali, it doesn't for Vayne, it doesn't for any champion for what we have that's called true camouflage. It means if I'm standing next to your champion, I literally don't know you're there until you decide to attack me.
Yeah.
They like pushing this concept and philosophy so much, they made a fucking K-pop group about it. Ironically enough, every single one of them. Kaisa, with the exception of Seraphine. Seraphine's different. Kaisa, Evelynn, not Vayne, Ari,
Ari.
Akali. I feel like I'm forgetting one. I know there's 5 members, or was it originally 4? But all of these champions, all of them are either magical divers or they are magical assassins that are designed to have either a form of stealth, because ironically they all do have some form of stealth in their kit, or they are designed that way that when they sold you the KDA skin, you buy it because it looks cool and you want to be a K-pop star and you like spending $24 on a skin.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't even play League, but the folks around Invisibility Champions is probably fucking awful for the game.
It depends. Champions like Kha'Zix, he has to press a button. Champions like Evelynn, there is an indicator that appears on your screen when she uses W.
If it's not communicated.
No, it's not communicated. Riot loves this concept of mini-games.
Yeah, so uncommunicated perma stealth seems terrible.
Yes. It's kind of like how pre-patch Zeratul was before they killed Hots dead in the water. He had a kit, him and Nova actually, he had a kit where he has a blink. And he had a special talent tree, because it was probably one of the few MOBA games where it actually plays something like one of my audience members and I were discussing one time on stream, where instead of the game being about who has the most wins, it's about who can be able to have the most experience on the map. But the game is tiered around basically Mario Party games as a map design. Every single map has a different minigame that you interact with the most straightforward one being the Pirate Bay, collect tokens, I bomb the enemy's base for you. But every single map has a minigame that you interact with, that your champion could do things like, I was a Sonya, Gaz, Zeratul, Adather player. I was the person who took a mechanic-based champion, or in this case, hero character, I forget what they called it for HOTS. I took Gazlo, took the mechanic, I ran him in your face like he was a fucking battle mage. Nobody could fight me. Because they didn't understand to do it. These guys supposed to be unsafe, but every time I whip out the bomb, they die. They don't know what to do. Sonya, Diablo, I guess Tyrael as well, and Abathur, and Elite Tarn Chieftain. All these champions that are either based around diving, positioning, basically area denial kind of creativity champions. These kind of philosophies. They have this concept in mind for Riot. They like pushing this concept. A good example of that was when they refreshed and remade Mordekaiser and gave him the original old Warwick point-and-click 6-second suppression, or in this case it was 3 seconds, they made it 6 seconds for him for some reason, ultimate, where I can walk up to you, point-and-click, I put you in over...
Point R, you're secluded from everyone else. Yes. You get to basically 1v1 an arena for... Yeah.
Yes, they love this design, they love this philosophy, they love these little mini-games to put on these champions, but it's extremely unhealthy for the game. My personal opinion is that the reason it's unhealthy for the game is that they always drop on the mid-season update new items, item fixes, item system corrections, and item changes that either directly control, create, or destroy design philosophies. Hello, Static Shiv. And when that design philosophy gets out of hand, they try to counteract it by adding a new fresh Twinkling toy, and the Twinkling toy in this case was Neferi. Neferi as a champion design. Baby's first macro assassin roamer. Clears waves, has a W, which is the only W in the game that exists in this way, where instead of just being unstoppable, it is a I'm coming, I'm arriving, I am here ability. Point and click.
So you cannot CC her out of it, and you
can.
It's a point and click.
But it can be body blocked, but the problem is she's an assassin, so if a person's diving into 5 people in the front of the head, they don't know how to play the champion to begin with anyways. But the champion, its design philosophy is I can get in range of you with W. I can stand on your head. I can click you. Once I have created the attack, the direct-to-target rally spell, because that's what it is. You have to click on the champion in order for the spell to work. This usually gets counteracted by things like stealth, but it doesn't in your case. Once I click on your head, you cannot stop my dash. I am going to attack you. As a mini dash, which is capable of getting over walls, her Q ability is 2 line shots that can be targeted in the direction of an enemy. You can be able to use that as a bleed to poke. It gives a heal if you hit it twice, but more importantly is her ultimate, which increases the range of that W, so that she can shove a wave, she can disappear from the map, and then all of a sudden, from it's about 1,000 distance, about the length of a screen when you're focusing on it, you see an assassin coming out of range at you at a billion move speed.
Yeah.
You can't escape it. You cannot slash out of it. It's stupid. Comparing this,
I didn't play the game, and it's fucking stupid. Like it.
When you compare this to something like Akali, you'd think, well, the champion change there is that Akali could do the same thing, but she has to still hit abilities, but...
Doesn't she have to stand in smoke ring or something?
She stands in the smoke ring, but she can't be targeted in the smoke ring, and you can't see where she is until she attacks, and even with the original counter to this, which was to place a vision ward in the shit, which directly disabled it, they decided that wasn't fun. So, much like any other champion that has, like, a stealth function, you instead have to use vision sweeping. But guess how many players actually understand that they need to use vision sweeping instead of just having a champion like LeBlanc that can do the exact same playstyle but as a first control mage assassin? Very few, very minimal. So then it gets to the philosophy where, get back to the example, didn't want to take you too far. That toxic pro, let's say it's Neferi versus LeBlanc, and the LeBlanc crushes you because you first timed Neferi, you don't know what you're doing, you didn't know to build Dustblade, didn't know all the strats, any of that shit. You try to say good game to them, they shit talk you, run into the fucking distance. Most toxic experience you can add. Imagine it in your mind. Imagine the words that can be said. The non-toxic pro, instead, would be like, you tried your best, but the way that you were playing against my champion isn't going to work. I can show you why. And they take you into the practice tool, they talk to you over the comms, and they explain to you what was happening, what you were doing. There's a similar complaint like this with champions like Reorg, where they feel like the champion's non-interactive, but he's literally a control mage that is physical based, that if you walk in range of his dust and you walk at him in a straight line, he's going to dust you. And most players, they're aggressive, they're hyper aggressive, They believe if they pick something like Jax, they pick something like Darius, they pick anything that can be in your face, I can threaten you. The concept
isn't a lot of this both unwillingness to actually read anything, right?
Yes.
you're not reading what your fucking champion is doing, and just a general lack of understanding, but also lack of practice, right? Because you're not going to be the best as you possibly be playing something first time. But my general point here is, well, okay. You can definitely pull someone aside and tell them why it's not going to work, but they can also figure it out that partially, if not most of the way, and then figure it out fully through, I guess, just like experience, right?
They can. Most people tend to choose not to, which is why
exactly they don't
to be unbalanced. But it's a whole problem. It's not even focusing on those individuals, because there are plenty of people who don't even understand what their champion's supposed to do. That they just watch a King Sticks video, they watch a Peek and Wolf video, and that's their crash course knowledge. They watched a challenger player play it, and then they took it on to the Rift. And if they lose, if they win, they chalk that up as a learning experience. Most players don't do that. But let's bring it to the FPS perspective, because the MOBA perspective is very fucking wonky. You could have 10 years.
There's so many different
years. You could have
things.
You can have 10, 15 years experience, and you can still have somebody who fucks up. Okay, Robin, thank you for following. You can still have people who fuck up. You can have a bad game. You can have a horrible experience. Let's use an FPS example. I'll use Apex Legends. What's the champion that's unlocked when you first have an account? Bloodhound? Your first time Bloodhound.
Bloodhound, Wraith.
Bloodhound, Wraith, any of those. I don't think they have Revenant, but I don't think Revenant's even good in any meta. At least right now. Tends to always be new champion plus Mad Maggie and whatever else tends to already work. With the exception of Pathfinder. Pathfinder is always great. He'll never not be relevant. You go into a lobby. An actual ranked lobby, not quick play. Very specific that this is only about the ranked perspective, because this is the philosophy it comes to. Go into a ranked lobby. I don't even know what their lowest is anymore. Iron, gold, bronze, what the fuck is their lowest?
Wood.
You go into your first placement lobby. You're full of a bunch of wood players and one predator player. And the predator player is the toxic individual. You try to do your best. You make it to the final ring. You're part of the final 3 teams. But the predator is solo lobbied by himself, and he wipes all of the teams by himself, including you. You waited until you engaged with the other team, eventually played Rat, and then third party you. But during the match, he was probably killing solo people by himself.
Well, this is matchmaking fucked up, first of all. Second of all, so you're saying there's a pred lobby and a wood lobby, right?
No, a predator player inside of a wood lobby, because
yes, a toxic, specifically
yes.
A toxic.
Yes, when you're going through the lobbies, it will always place you against random people, no matter what, for your provisionals. Then you have the skill-based matchmaking. I've
seen a lot of rambling about Apex ranked recently, and that shit just seems completely awful. Like, have you seen the spread?
It's just fucking stupid. It's just
fucking retarded. So the rank spread, as I understand it right now, there are more Masters players than there are like low gold. It's just a broken rank system.
They have not had an MMR reset. A proper
it's just awful.
MMR reset. So you have a
I've never seen a rank system that bad in my life.
Wait till you see League.
Oh, well, yeah, now that I think about that, yeah.
But between the non-toxic player and the toxic player, let's take an example of a random, weird, toxic Pathfinder versus It's Timmy. You might get into a game with It's Timmy. He decimates your lobby. Says, oh my god, you guys did great, good game. Moves on to his next. Maybe he drops his link to his stream. You go in, you ask him, oh my god, how the fuck did you hit that? How the fuck did you hit that whip line on us? I didn't even see where you came from. And he's like, oh, cool, no problem, bro.
This is still ranked, right?
Yes, still ranked.
Okay, yeah.
Ranks up the VOD, he watches it back, he breaks it down, play by play. Here's how I set up the play, here's how I knew I could do this in this situation, and here's how I hit the shot. You ask him, well, how did you hit that shot? How do you even have the mechanics for it? Well, here's how you do it. And there's multiple fucking lists about all of the ways that you can be able to use your momentum to swing your body, to be able to hit the shot, all of the tutorials about it. Toxic Pro.
And for a very short segue, I didn't even mention this, but I've been a partner of Metafy for quite a while. If you don't know what Metafy is, I assume you're fighting game. You're probably familiar with Metafy.
Yes.
I've been a coach on there for Battlefield for I think over 2.5 years now. So I'm very familiar with people, asking me to do that. Some of them pay for lessons, whatever. I come in there and I give them the absolute best advice I possibly can. And yeah, so I am familiar with, explaining particularly strange mechanics, even like, there's a jump in Battlefield 4 that's infamous called the Zuzu jump. And I'm sure you could find a video, but a lot of people get it wrong because they don't know that you have to be behind a wall that isn't destroyable in order for it to actually work. So yeah, continue.
Every game has its kind of mechanic with that. If you ever play old school RuneScape, you're gonna hear the word Wook Squawks by the time you get to Dragon Slayer 2. You're gonna wonder what the fuck is that, and when you look it up, you're gonna be like, wow. But same scenario, same situation, but as a dock player this time. You try to say, GG, you did good. Yes, in ranked. Okay. GG, you did good. You tried, we did our best, but you were just better. Brags you, calls you a shitter, then specifically spends 40 seconds at a time on your stream specifically bragging on how bad you were, and you literally didn't know anything you did. Let's say you have...
this is stupid.
Yes, let's say you have a player that has the temerity to deal with it. You have a person that's a weekend warrior, so they don't care. And then you have the person who's a super heartfelt toucher. Let me think of a streamer off the top of my head. Asher Roboto, the girl who cried about easy mode in her game when she was playing Kingdom Hearts 2, specifically for the lore.
Okay.
Had a whole article written about her by Polygon and Kotaku, because this is what happens when some women tend to damsel. I don't even have an opinion about her damseling, but it was weird that a woman has something that's happened to her like this. Streamers like you and I could have somebody call us the worst slur that they could possibly imagine. Gets no coverage because it's not going to be valuable to them. That's neither here nor there.
Well, yeah, there are people getting stream sniped by in Battlefield right now. There's a group of like 10 or 12 people literally extorting other streamers for them to stop stream sniping them, and that's just getting zero. It's literally extortion, and it's not getting attention. So
yes, the Jake Lucky experience.
Yes,
esports happens in every game, including League, and unfortunately, most companies like Riot do not care to deal with it. I'm gonna turn on my AC real quick.
I'll give it to. I've never seen extortion before.
Brags you, calls you shitter, then spends 40 seconds at a time explaining how your plays were so bad when you don't know what you're doing. Normal player sees that, yeah, okay, whatever. They roll their eyes at it, they go on to play another match. Regular Weekend Warrior Andy might laugh about it, might even share it between their friends. Take a laugh about it. Go on to another game, or just stop playing for the day. Take a break, take a bio break, take a piss. 5-minute session, whatever. Get back on the game later. Heartfelt, heart toucher. Cry, whine, complain, cry. This is the worst thing ever. I can't believe this has happened to me. I can't believe you've done this. And they stop playing the game forever. Most of the time.
I would honestly say that if you quit a game because of that, I simply do not understand. No. I'll just be completely honest. I don't get it, but go ahead.
No, I'm just giving examples of these situations, because this is typically how the games tend to die. This is how Wardhow died. This is how For Honor died. It's technically how most of the non-private server lobbies tend to go the way of the dino, especially if a new FPS game gets released like X-Defiant, or what's that one that looks like Roblox but it's not Roblox?
BattleBit?
Yes, BattleBit.
BattleBit?
It's how usually most of the games...
Shockingly, I don't think BattleBit's going anywhere for a long time.
It's new. I didn't even hear of it until about a week ago.
Hold on, are you about to tell me that BattleBit's overhyped?
No, no, I'm not.
No, please do. Okay.
I didn't even hear of that game until I saw that one thread from a guy who was being accused of cheating because of the way that he was snapping heads around the corner because of the situation.
Oh, the former R6 pro player that, there's just actually
that people said was
very good and people are coping,
the one that was called a suspected cheater in Valorant.
Yeah.
Most of the time, most games, FPSs suffer from this, MMORPGs suffer from this, because you'll always see that kind of player no matter what the game they play. Whether it's an MMORPG, an FPS, sometimes it happens in an ARPG, but we have very few lobby-based ARPGs anymore. They play more like Diablo, especially including Path of Exile, where if you didn't want to interact with that person, with the exception of PSO2, you just simply move to another lobby, or you do another instance of the same quest that you were going to do to possibly avoid that kind of scenario. But most of the games tend to have a casual scene and a pro scene that are segregated along those lines, and most of the time the pro scenes tend to have people that are the latter example than the earlier example. And it happens all the time.
They tend to be toxic rather than helpful. Well, yeah.
And those
I'll tell you right now that
What?
Oh, it's fucking real hard. I'll tell you right now, you would have hated me fucking 2 years ago, because with my competitive team, we come into games that are typically small, but we always try to play other games if we like them, and we only play the game if the team wants to and all that sort of shit. But we have my team leader specifically has very strict rules about, dude, just don't say fucking anything in ranked ever, right? If there's ranked in a game, just play, try to learn. If if you spot someone good, just try your best against them. You know, if you lose, it doesn't fucking matter. Ranked is worthless. What matters is tournaments. He essentially tries to reel us in from a emotional toxicity standpoint, right? He wants to prevent bad reputations from getting formed, because his primary concern is, what if they're a competitive player on a competitive team, sees you bitch at someone, oh, we're not going to scrim that team, we lost a scrim partner, right? So
it's probably one of the
I have been reeled in heavily by him. Heavily, I'll tell you that right now. And it's for the fucking better too, obviously. Obviously, way for the better.
I can tell you from experience, having dealt with both my collegiate, my fucking challengers level teams, and my pro teams. Every single time I've had to reel in a player that is discussed saying, "Why can't I just shit talk?" And it's like, we're not living in the time period where we could do that. Because personally,
we obviously can't do that.
Yeah, I personally would not care if we were to have the conversation that we were having. Because I chose to use video because I was lazy and I didn't want to take my hand off my keyboard. Playing
I was playing Nightmare Dungeon, so
playing words are hard. Playing I can't even say the name while I'm fucking looking at it on my screen. As I was playing Vault of the Void. If we were to have the conversation that we were having between the text and the video, it would have been a shouting match. And yet that would have been fine. I wouldn't have cared about that.
Oh, I would have gone to bed fine.
It's not even a big fucking deal. Both of us could have walked away from that saying, "Oh man, that guy's an asshole," and we could have been fucking fine. It wouldn't have killed either of us. Neither of us got shot. Neither of us got killed. No one got doxxed. No one had money taken out of their hand.
A few people got doxxed in BF5 because of cheaters that they're not getting banned, but that's another topic.
That's ironic. That's ironic enough. Because I have plenty of opinions about DICE. Their games would be fun, but I wish they were just made by a better developer.
They are so fucking incompetent. You wouldn't even listen. You think you have things about DICE? Oh, my lord, dude, yeah. You are in for a fucking absolute roller coaster if you want to talk about this in private. Seriously, like, anyway,
but every time I've had to try to walk somebody in, and even when I had to control this in myself, dealing with it, because I still struggle with it, honestly, because the Battlefield community, it just gets something special out of me, you know what I mean? Just a special sort of anger, it's just like a special kind of rage.
I made a video about a developer confirmed bug, demonstrated in real time, and someone posted it on Reddit, and the majority of the comments were denying that it was even a problem. And that, I don't even know what that is. Like, to me, that's like, the community is gone. Everyone sentient has left. I don't know. I couldn't make that video any more harmless and explained. I just showed you what's wrong. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, it's like, I can't even do anything more. But it still pisses me off, because it's like, how could you possibly deny that? And then I get fucking pissed. Then I get toxic and say stupid shit. I'm like, then I have to run it back. It's like, okay, well.
Because in your head, you want to explain it as best straightforward as you can. Where you think
I already did. That's the thing.
Yes.
Like, to me, it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, how do you not see what's wrong?
Like you present it, you do everything possible to where a regular person of general competence and understanding. And it's not even, well, it's a player who first started up, they booted up.
The specific bug that I demonstrated
go ahead.
Was a problem with the screen center being delayed from your actual red dot sight. So say you shoot a gun, the red dot sight's supposed to be screen center in most traditional FPS games. There are examples you could pull up that do not use that point of aim tie system, right? BF5, for example, point of aim is disconnected from screen center, but it's always close to screen center. But the reason why I wanted to show this to be a bug is why that confirmed to me. And then I thought about, okay, how can I fucking demonstrate it? So I had a crosshair overlay in my OBS, just like an overlay showing the exact center of the screen at all times. And I made sure it was really big so people saw it. I shot a gun. Immediately upon shooting the gun, the red dot is disconnected from screen center all the way up while it's recoiling. And then I pull down, and the red dot is about, I mean, I could link you the video. The red dot is about, I don't know, 6 inches below the screen center. And then you see the screen center slowly reset back down to the back down to the red dot. Then I play Battlefield 1, a game that actually fucking works. And I do the exact same test, and at all times, to no one's surprise, the screen center is stuck to the sight, as it should be, because that's how it is, right? And I have people in the comment section going like, well, isn't that intentional? No, it's not. Well, and then I have the people saying, well, if it's affecting everyone, why is it a problem? I'm like, what? I give up, you know? Like,
it's a problem where you explain it, lay it out, present it, like, okay, here's
like, if you don't understand it, I apologize.
Like,
it's one of those things.
Yeah, you see, here's the industry standard, here's the deviation. This is a problem. Can we please correct
This is a
it?
problem.
And then everybody comes and saying it's not a big deal, bro. You can just do this, bro. And it's
Yes.
it's good that you brought that up, because that's actually one of the things I wanted to like hit on, because it's also something that Upgrade Lemon just said in chat. The problem with most casuals is that they don't want to improve because gaming is viewed as a relaxing thing for most people after work, school, etc. I agree,
Yes.
and that's where a lot of the problem comes from, because multiple times the reason why it's always been an issue whenever any kind of coach or assistant AV of a team or of a coaching group needs to bring somebody in and try to give them a reason for why this is an issue and why it's a deal. And in my opinion, why it's actually good that most people who are signed to an org or a team, or at least want to be somebody in a scene, have to hold themselves to a higher standard, is because at the end of the day, if I do something that is wrong, let's say we're at a tournament, we're at Worlds, my team was able to place literally first seat in the stage. We knock out everybody in the knockout stage because of stupid ass one round robin rule. I don't care.
Best of ones.
I don't care who's running the fucking thing. It's probably gonna be right because they think that's actually interesting set instead of having a fucking best of 3. And whoever's fucking mind. Where
best of 1 is, in my opinion, it's not even competitive. Like,
you can't have a scene where you have best of 1s, because that means if they just happen to not perform because they didn't take it seriously, a fucking team like, let's say SK Telecom 1 gets knocked out by fucking NA Immortals in a League of Legends NA series, and somehow, for the first time ever, NA places proper because it just so happened that one time, Faker didn't want to play his best. He didn't want to play a Silas, you know, he didn't want to pull out the Silas. He decided to pull out the Frog and Anivia special, and he fucking ran it down. That's whatever.
Base.
They have a team. They make it to the stage. One of my players decides, in his heart of hearts, that he just needed to have it out with my team on the microphone. He wasn't being respected as IGL, despite he was IGL and he was practiced for the IGL or the scrims. They practice all the strats around him, leading call. He has the deviation between him and the jungler. All of them are able to communicate, and it just so happens that the support he just kept talking. He just kept running his mouth. He just kept running his mouth. And so, my fucking IGL decides to run it down my lane and lose my team in the series, and thus cost us a guaranteed first place position, because a play that should be very easy for him to do, he just decided not to do. For us, if we do something like that, there is a repercussion that comes from that. Because
it's called getting kicked off the team.
Oh yeah, we get kicked off the team, we get sanctioned money, we lose opportunities. In the casual scene, when it comes to
my team leader wouldn't even let me stream comms in a small scene where everyone knew what we were gonna do. You know what I mean? Like, everyone knew we were gonna take height on Mountain R&D domination. All right, that's how you play the fucking map. But still couldn't comment, you know. And I understood that. I didn't argue at all. But yeah.
But you always get that. You always get the situation, especially in places like League, because you have so many people who believe they know so much, but their information is coming from somebody else. They don't know it personally themselves. They're just repeating what they heard. You get somebody, you isolate them out, you try to get them in the conversation, and you try to explain to them the thing that you tried to explain. Like, you pull somebody up after a match after you lost. You had a perfect game win. All your team had to do was they needed to just group, and they needed to rope-a-dope the enemy. You know what rope-a-dope is for FPS, right? Wait for them to engage,
wait for them to
resources, and then fucking pincer them.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't want to fucking listen to the call. They didn't want to wait. That player ends up losing you the match because he dies. Your support tries to bail him out to pull him back. To reset
someone didn't stage and they got fucking picked, and now we're down 5-6 and we can't. Yeah.
Pull them aside. You try to explain to them. Okay, here's how the play's supposed to work. Here's
you
why
need to fucking stage.
Here's why I did what I did. I'll use Yorick in League of Legends as an example. He's a hyper split pusher. He has an ultimate that is a permanent pet that follows around a post 6 that can auto shove waves if he releases her. Has a original initial cooldown of like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but it usually gets lowered because all of his items are built for ability haste. He can literally start soloing towers by himself if you let him leave alone. But even if he groups, this champion can release that maiden, goes to the side lane. It's like having somebody on the outskirts who's ratting for vision, and he's calling the plays to you because he's got sniper or whatever. Playing cover. If you pull somebody aside, you try to explain that to them. If we try to explain that and we get too wild on a stream, if we communicate that to those individual players, something happens to us. We get some kind of consequence for us communicating and getting too rambunctious. Somebody dropped the N-word, probably me. Somebody dropped the N-word just in casual conversation, like, motherfucker, do you not understand how this works? Because it makes sense in your mind. Like, you know how this works. So you're trying to relate it to them because you assume, oh, we're on the same level. But then they start talking, and it's like, oh, you don't have any idea what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let me explain to you why this works. But then they say to you something that is absolutely fucking asinine. As a Yumi player, no, we're supposed to group ARAM mid, and I'm supposed to just work off of you. The split pusher. We're just gonna run at them in a straight line. No, I'm not gonna ward. We don't need wards and vision. We're just gonna ARAM at them. Straight line, ARAM. We go down mid. We march at them down mid. We don't have any threat in the side lanes. We don't have anything setting up pressure to force them to pick between taking a fight and defending their towers. No. We run down mid. If you ran down mid, we don't lose game. You didn't run down mid, so I ran down mid and lost the game.
How lose game if whole team dead? How? We kill them all, we win.
When it comes to people who understand, because I believe you're of general above intelligence, especially if you're playing in competitive, because most players don't even play a fucking pickup game for a tournament if they're happening to be at a convention. You have somebody of relative intelligence who tries to communicate this information to another person. We understand and can be able to discuss this.
Yeah.
Try to communicate to the person who wants to run a ranked game.
There's a certain level of inherent mechanical understanding as well. Sometimes, some people literally don't understand how. I've had people ask me how I move my hand so quickly, and I'm like, I do not understand how to answer this because the answer is do it.
I just move my hand quickly. It's one of those literally I just do it. But
I literally do it.
The answer in that situation, that'd be an FGC concept, because it's like, oh my god, how does that man play on a fight stick? I don't understand. Practice. How do you practice that? I went into the lab until I could do the combo with my hand
with the fight stick.
And then it's like, well, how do you remember the combo? I practiced the combo until
bind. You set up your binds, so you set up your binds and you play on those binds so you get familiar and
yes. Some people don't have the technical mind for it. Some people have the visualization of it, but they don't have the crossover to the hand-eye coordination until they actually take time to be like, oh, so that's how I should do it. Use some kind of pneumatic device or shortcut. But pros that understand, or semi-pros, casuals, people who actually want to play. I'll phrase it as people who want to win. People who want to win. They understand this information. They can.
I would phrase it as people that want to participate.
That's another way to put it. You know, if you put
people that want to actively try and participate, maybe. Yeah.
That happens a lot more in most MOBAs than anything else. They're addicted to the game. They're not interested in winning.
They just want to they press buttons, they press find match, they lock in their favorite champion or the champion they want to use for that patch, and if they win or lose, they do the same thing over and over every game.
The Tyler 1 Karthus bot era.
Yes. See, that was a Korean. See, even that's a Korean strat.
A based era.
Yes, it is a very based era. Like the Korean strat of taking a control or a battle's demolition mage into the bottom lane. Ziggs, Vigar, Karthus, they work because the philosophy is I can walk at you in a straight line and you have no choice but to answer. It is a zone denial and a zone aggression kit. If you leave me down there, I'm going to kill your lane. It's not a question of how, it's when and if you're going to kill me when I'm done.
It demands attention.
Yes, it demands an answer. Most of the time.
It's like if you leave, just to give my example, it's like if you leave this character in Gundam Evolution called Soldier 76. Oh my god, he's Pale Rider, who's essentially Soldier 76, but he moves faster, has 2 dashes, a slow. Well, I guess Soldier 76 has a heal pod. He has a heal pod, but it's even stronger than Soldier 76's, and he can ADS.
Mm-hmm.
If you let him shoot you in the side, how do you think that's gonna work?
Mm-hmm.
You die. You just die. Like, you need to kill the Pale Rider on the fucking offshoot.
It's one of those things that it should be. It's a no-brainer. Which is the reason I used Yorick. He's a very similar concept. If you allow that maiden push by itself, it will automatically keep pushing until it hits a tower, and eventually dies to the tower hitting. But by the time it dies, it'll have done a lot of damage. So you have to answer to it. You have to do something, etc., whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When we have to communicate that shit to somebody, there is a particular level, because you were mentioning that. There is a particular level where you hit that point of the conversation when it becomes clear, oh, you don't know what it is I'm talking about.
Then you have to walk back.
Yes. You gotta walk back, so it's like, okay, so here's what we were supposed to be doing.
Like, this is the most basic level of, like, the point of the point. You know what I mean? Like, you capture this objective to take it away from the enemy and gain points for your team. Like, that is the point of having the objective.
And when you explain whatever concept it is you're trying to do, because at that point you're no longer in the, okay, you don't understand what the fuck is happening, you wanted to be the fucking main character, to, oh, you don't know. So now
Yeah.
I've switched gears from heckling you, because I wouldn't say it's harassing. You can always ask a person a question and ask them, do you understand what the fuck's supposed to happen here or not? And then once you establish, oh, they don't know what the answer is, I'm going to teach you the answer and why that's the answer. You switch gears from sweat. Everybody's got a sweat mode. Everybody can assume the gamer position.
I could go on a 10-minute rant with something you just said. You don't know the answer, so I'm going to show you the answer, but they still don't get it. Dude, Battlefield players do not understand that kills are the most important part of the game, because you can't capture the fucking point if you are dead, or if there are 30 people on the point. You have to kill them so you get the point.
Shout out to all my PlanetSide 2 players.
Yeah. PlanetSide 2 players. I know some of the best PlanetSide 2 players to ever touch that game.
Recursion? Recursion?
Oh yeah. No, Zyros, Leroy, Frog Mike is goblins.
Goblin jumpers, recursion.
Harvester.
I'm forgetting his on.
Fucking.
There's on his song
Bantz,
that I can't remember off the top of my head.
James Batty. They're actually on my team. They play my competitive team. A lot of the old PS2 sweats.
I happen to be a member of not that the other one. I happen to be a member of Voodoo Shipping Company.
Dude, I should get my friend in here. He'd fucking lose his mind. He'd be like, Voodoo. Didn't you guys used to? Well, I had never played PlanetSide, but my understanding is people do things like they drop a full battalion of troops on one point and shit.
Oh yes.
Did Voodoo do that?
I think you might be thinking of Desire of Legionnaires before the game switched over from Sony to the people who are running it.
Yeah,
now.
I might maybe I've been thinking of that. My
Voodoo-
friend.
Yeah, Voodoo is the people who teach those members on how to do those kinds of things. Sometimes you'll
Point
have
holds and gal drops.
like point holds, gal drops, specific wet work, stealth, infiltration situations, recon, sniping, cover, all that. That's usually what Voodoo specializes in. They're very much like infantries. They're not pub stompers like most people tend to be, where they'll only ever go around specifically one location, and they will never engage on a point if they have anything less than 2 squads to 2 platoons, which is very much Terran and Vanu bullshit. But that's an entirely different conversation. But yes, very same shit. You gotta get them off the fucking point before you can be able to play.
You literally have to kill them.
And
the best example is to show them competitive gameplay of that actually taking place for money, where it actually matters. Like, guys, in this particular situation, I called my teammate, hey, you need to kill that guy so we can plant the bomb so we can win the tournament. okay? Like, if he kills you while you're planting, we're down and where you have to reset. Like,
it gets to that point where you can feel as you move into the gamer position and start sitting up in your chair.
Oh, I fully understand
what the fuck
the
is wrong
gamer
with this
position.
guy? Like, what the fuck is going on inside of his head? And you do that inside out zoom in, and there's not even a fucking light bulb. It's one fucking dendrite, and it's swinging in the wind, back and forth between fight, no fight, fight, no fight. And then when you start talking to him, it's permanently stuck in the fight position. Like, I'm not gonna fight, I'm just gonna stand here and do nothing. Where the fuck are you? You need to be on the point. Fight! And it never comes off.
You don't even have to do but you know this from Planet Side. I mean, just shoot something.
I mean,
just shoot something. These people that go 0-25, I'm sorry, but you piss me off. And sometimes I yell at you. Sometimes, like, please God, I don't want to be the toxic sweat, and I will give you a free Metafy lesson. Holy fucking shit! You're playing an FPS game. You're not shooting anyone. I don't get it. I will never get it.
I feel like
and it will always make me mad. And it makes me mad that it still makes me mad.
I feel like Planet Side 2 is one of the better examples of this philosophy that we're trying to discuss in movement. Because it feels that we're not necessarily against it, but we were arguing two different things that were being spoken past each other. And I was talking about what I was talking about. I was talking about the philosophy of, okay, we understand that there's this group, and this group. But these people don't want to associate with these people. The casual players that don't necessarily respond to the aggressive beatdown of other people.
Let's attack the point. Were you making the point that good players kill the game as a result of them literally being too good, or were you making the point of them killing the game because they don't actually do anything to help the other players?
Yes, there you go.
That's the point. Okay, now it's totally fine because that makes fucking sense. But also, they sort of fuck themselves because some of them talk shit to the people trying to help them as well. Yes. And I'm like, okay, because people come into my stream and you're probably not even familiar with me. Maybe you are. I know you at Aimbot Amy. She plays Battlefield.
She's one of my mutuals. I've known her personally. Okay.
So, yeah, I stream Battlefield. I stream Battlefield every fucking day. God bless my soul. Please, God, release a new game, please. And every time I stream, there's always at least one guy that comes in after I go, I don't know, I'm like, a game today that I had, I was like 110 kills and like 15 deaths, right? And I'm fucking pissed because there's a point in the game, it's last point exposure C point. It is the worst point I've ever seen in my life. Imagine 64 people fighting over a school cafeteria. That's what it is. And it's stalemate, awful trash. And what ends up happening is people accept that and they go, okay, I'm gonna lose now. And here's me playing the game the only way I know how to play it. I'm running in. I want to win the game. How do I win the game? Okay, I have to kill these people. Oh, I can't. There's 35 of them. And the only way I can win the game is if my team does something, right? And they have to do something. And what they have to do is they have to do anything. Shoot into a smoke grenade, because at least your bullets cut off some sort of angle, right? They can't walk in there as long as you're doing that. That forces them into a corner or something. Whatever. You throw a smoke grenade, you push up, you jump in. God forbid you follow me while I push in, right? Some guy will always come in and they'll go like, dude, why are you so irritated? Why are you so fucking irritated? I don't understand. Like, you got 110 kills. It's like, you don't understand though. It was irritating the whole time because I was playing the game. In my view, I was playing the game, and in my view, they were not. They were not playing the game because they gave up. It's understandable. The point is terrible. I would berate the person that designed that point. It is dog shit. It's if I show it to you, you would end the stream. But it's
no. The exact thing you're discussing, that's exactly what we call it as coaches. You need to play the game.
You need to play the fucking game. And people come in and they don't understand why I'm so irritated. Like, dude, I just come in and I just want to play this game casually and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, fine, but you're not playing. You are actually not participating in the game. And I cannot fix that. You know what I mean? I can't. And it shouldn't make me mad because I can't fix it, but it still does because it actively affects what I'm doing.
I'm gonna ask you a series two. Well, I say series, 2 questions. When you play the game, do you prefer to lose because you did your best and both teams tried to win, or do you prefer to lose if the other person was better than you because of a series of circumstances they were able to exploit to get the win over you?
The second scenario is rarely an occurrence. I'm not saying no one's better than me. I'm saying there are rarely a set of scenarios in Battlefield in particular where it's one person taking advantage of that, if you know what I mean. I'm okay with both. The second scenario rarely, if ever, happens in Battlefield 2042 specifically. In other Battlefield games, it's different because other Battlefield games are more. You can have more of an impact as an individual player. I've had games in Battlefield 5 where it does not matter who you are on that particular day. I am totally. I am all-knowing. You will not kill me. And I've had days where I cannot fucking win a fight to save my life, right? But if I can't win a fight to save my life, it's because of that one other player who was just God in that server. He was in the position, he had the timing, he knew where I was at all times, he had prioritized the target, he fucking killed me and prioritized me, whatever, right? In 2042, the second scenario where you bring up doesn't happen as often, if at all, because of the way the game naturally plays and is designed. It does not have flow. In Battlefield 5, there's a channel reward on my channel where it's called Enders Explains his gameplay for 2 minutes straight. And it's me literally rambling in real time what I'm doing. In 2042, I can do it, but if you compare what I'm saying while I do it in Battlefield 5 to what I'm saying in 2042, I'm not going, like in Battlefield 5, I'll say like, okay, I'm rotating here to prevent this rotation because this guy's going to spawn here because it just killed him. He's a sweat, so he's going to take the closest natural rotation to me because he wants to kill me. I'm going to go over here and shoot him, right? That never happens in 2042. In 2042, if you hear me explaining something, it'll be like, okay, I'm going to spawn here. There's the flag over there. I killed somebody who was good. I don't know where the fuck he's going to spawn. I'll try to react to the situation the best I can, and that's about it. That's literally, yeah. But I don't really. I would. The competitor in me wants me to say I'd prefer the first scenario. Because if I fucking lose, it pisses me off, right? Because I'm competitive like you motherfucker. But I respect it. I respect it.
It's like you have. For me, because my example, I would use MOBAs because there are almost no ARPGs that play the way that I want them to play, and the few fucking MOBAs that did play well that aren't Eternal Return don't have this. But it's in a situation where it's like you're in a 1-on-1v1 because I'm a solo lane player. I play every role, but I tend to have to put myself either in the jungle or as a solo lane player because for some fucking reason nobody understands how to play mid or top lane. Just at a fundamental level inside of any of the ELOs, and it doesn't matter what ELO it is. Masters players play the exact same as fucking bronze players. The only difference is that they understand.
Said this.
They understand what they're supposed to do and what the champion does, but on the level of, okay, do you understand how I can kill you here? They don't. It doesn't exist to them. For silver players, they know what they were shown.
Is that a problem of matchup knowledge or no?
It is a problem of game knowledge.
Game knowledge.
It's game knowledge, it's sometimes matchup knowledge, and it's laziness. Because in a lot of the players, Casante's probably a good example. Jackson Casante. As we call him, Montero, because he was literally debuted by fucking by Lil Nas X, introducing him as a champion with his little fucking prestige Empyrean gay crop top shirt skin. Tank Assassin. Uses an ultimate, all of his abilities get true damage conversion. He loses all of his armor, but it's converted into damage and on a vamp. Very fun character to play. Jax. Not sure how much you know about League. Literal.
I've seen Jax.
Yes.
It seems
it's very one-sided.
cancer.
It's very fucking cancerous. Counter-Strike blocks all auto attack on a champion. Any auto attack empowered abilities, anything that allows you to reset your basic in-hand swing, your basic default standard attack.
Yeah, it's just like I would like fuck you, you know.
Auto attack reset, jumps on your head with his Q strike. They've changed his ultimate to where instead of being a thing that can be popped, that just gives you a giant burst of MR and AD based on what you're building, it instead needs to connect on a champion, and it then gives him a certain amount of resistances. But it also then now empowers his auto attack ability to trigger his passive once he gets his ultimate, because they're the way that they keep designing these champions and for Riot Games, and sometimes occasionally Hi-Rez, it's like one tooltip is a fucking paragraph. I don't know why they do that, but they do.
Mm-hmm.
The matchup normally into anything else you're playing into to try and set the ground. If you started in a battle royale or in Battlefield 5 with a loadout, your loadout allows you to dash, allows you to auto attack reset, allows you to stun, and your ultimate gives you the ability to do all that but faster.
Yes.
Santi's kit. Q3. Slows down, allows me to trigger an auto attack to get additional health bonus. The third Q can be used as shockwave to pull anything that hits towards him, which he then can get a empowered auto attack off on as well. And it does maximum physical damage until he does his ultimate, which it gets converted to true damage. His W, however, is able to make him unstoppable, which means he cannot be disrupted in the middle of it, for as long as he holds it down. But as he holds it down, he is unaffected by any crowd control that hits him. So that counter-strike that can be triggered to block auto attacks and then be released to stun the person, it can happen, the damage can go through, but I'm not crowd controlled during it. So I use that, I pull you into me, I then use that push to push you backwards, or pull you into me, maybe pull you into my tower, something that is very often done in Casante. Use a dash forward, push you into the tower, and now I can fight you after you've used all your abilities. Many times, you're going to be in a situation where you have the edge. For you, it's going to be, I know he's out of food, I know he's out of materials, I know he doesn't have any fucking stats to heal off of, he only's got maybe like 3 grenades left, one of them's probably Semtex, maybe a flash, I know I've got him here. And you just need somebody to just cover the option. This is basic term, I think, in every single game, but I think this is more common, like more often in FPSs and fighting games. You know what covering the option is, right?
A covering option?
Covering the option. Meaning covering his escape option.
Oh, covering escape option, yeah.
Like, cover the attack option, cover the escape option. Basically, I need you on my team, you stand here, don't move. That's all you need to do.
No, that absolutely. My team leader just says, listen, this is the fucking strat, and you need to be here.
The reason why I would say that is that...
And this is why.
Usually, in any MOBA that you're ever going to play, this is always going to be the thing. Every single champion is designed, every player character, so it's so hard not to say champion. Every player character, usually designed for the top lane or the solo lanes for dueling, are lane bullies. I get in your face, I can use my kit, you don't get to use your kit. I get to do what's called an empty trade on you. I get to do damage to you, you don't get to damage me back, because I either can block your damage, and shield your damage, can move away before you can be able to return damage, or I do so much damage that it doesn't even matter if you return damage. You're eventually going to get shoved out of lane because I have more range than you do. I can hit you before you can hit me.
Mm-hmm.
Versus champions like that when you're playing any other thing. Jax walks in, jumps on you, counter strikes. You can't auto attack him back because he's got counter strike up, and if you're still in the range of him when he releases counter strike, you're stunned. He does even more damage than he's already doing because he can attack during it. Because that's all he is. He's an auto attack abuser. Jump in, do damage, be able to push you out of lane. Can't do this versus Cassante. Cassante can actually fuck you. Because if I don't get stunned, and I can pull you into me, I now get to push you wherever the fuck I want. I can do return damage that you don't get to do back. He has to actually think about what he's doing now. He can't just face roll on the keyboard. Put him in a duel. I now have the ability to fight against him at any time, because not only can I just choose to negate what he does, the E on Cassante allows it to be used as a dash, but the dash goes further if it goes to a target, and it can be used on minions. So, you attack me in my wave, you try to jump on top of me, I move to my casters, I back off. You literally can't hit me anymore, because you don't have another dash. You know, you could use flash. That's a thing that most things have. Smite does not have a flash, which is why this doesn't happen in that game. It's not as cancerous. You can get blink, but it has to be the second relic you unlock. That's unlocked at level 9, which means you had to have been playing the game for at least 15 to 10 minutes before you ever get to that point. But you could be able to use something like flash. You could use a movement summoner to close the distance. But more often than not, if you use the movement summoner, I'm gonna use my movement summoner, and now we're just still at neutral, right? The ultimate, just all that, but better. The W gets to go faster. It gets reset first. If you have W and it's on cooldown, you use the ultimate on reset, it gets reset, the cooldown of the W, and it goes further and does more damage. E goes further, can shield for more, and the Q comes faster and does more damage as well. But it's based on like a pseudo mana timer. Like the champion uses mana, but once he uses his ultimate, it's like a cooldown timer that shows you how much time you have left before you transform back. And the W can kind of extend it. In a one-on-one matchup, should you know what you're doing, you isolate that person who you know is a weak link on that team, you get them alone, you know you can beat them. But out of nowhere comes this team member, and you look over at your team member who you said, okay, 1 minute from now, he's going to come through this door. You need to stand here so that I cover the option, so that when he gets funneled into our team, he does not get out this door. That's all you got to do. Just place your reticle on this door, stand around the corner, listen for the gunfire. When I call the play, peek the fucking corner, take the shot. Doesn't matter if you kill him or not. Aim for his general direction. Just cover this option. Whenever this shit happens, 9 times out of 10, in my case, don't know if it's for your case, you tell them to cover the option. The time comes for the play. You are dueling him off. You put him in the conditioning state. I'm sure you know what conditioning is. You put him in the conditioning state where he feels comfortable doing whatever the fuck he wants. Finally rope a dope the motherfucker. Now he's running for the hills. He used everything. He's used all of his resources. He's flashed. He's jumped. He does not know what the fuck's supposed to happen. This man thought he jumps in and he wins.
He's not prepared for the situation. He didn't account for the variable, and now he's fucking dead.
That, or he just literally thought, I can just do whatever I want. I can't be punished.
Yeah, I mean, he's just autopilot.
Yeah, you look over to the person you told to do that for the play. Motherfucker's not there. He's not there. He's literally doing something else. For League of Legends, it's the jungler, maybe it's the support, if it's an execution support like Pyke, some kind of champion whose design is, I literally exist to kill people. I don't even need to stay in lane after 3. I could just perma-roam. You look over, he's not there.
Yeah, that level of, well, maybe it's not level, that dynamic of like, this player needs to be here right now at all times, doesn't exist as often in the FPS games that I have played with, but it does to a certain extent in Gundam Evolution, because it's a hero shooter. And yeah, there are absolutely situations like that where we spoke about conditioning. We've conditioned a team, like, I don't know, there's a map called, I mentioned it earlier, there's a map called Mountain R&D. It is a 3-point domination map where the center point is actually below a place of height with a hole in the middle. You drop down, but the point is you want on the opposite side of either hill is point A and point B. If you want to control point A, you want to control the height of A and then opposite height with some other person, right? So you put someone to shoot someone else contesting height. If you contest height, you jump over the middle, go back with your team, and you wait for the big push on main height to try to push you off, right?
Yes. There's like 3 different
What we
maps.
have done in Gundam, and the part of why we're so dominant on that map, I don't think we dropped that map once against even the best team that we played against. or very rarely we would ever drop it. And if we did, it was completely our fucking fault. We would just have our Ashmar player focus. Ashmar is a unit that can fly up from lower B and stun their whole team in a line if we tell him to do it. Because we would essentially bait them into pushing us in on our height, and then folks would come in, punch them all, they're all stunned, and then the fight's over. Like you lost based off of a single ult, right? And all the while, you know, we don't have to, our job is to not die, basically. Hold height, but don't die. Wait for focus. And focus, you know, he's fucking nuts. So he honestly sometimes doesn't even need our call. He can just sense it. He just flies up and goes, oh, there it is. But, you know, we would call for him and he'd be right there every single time. That's an example of when that would need to happen. And teams just didn't know what to do about it. Because if they contest focus, focus is going to kill you. Because focus is fucking crazy. But focus is probably one of the best FPS gamers I've ever seen. He'll might not ever have a name for himself, you know, big time, whatever. But I'm telling you right now, I've watched thousands of hours of competitive across all sorts of games. I respect all sorts of pro players. Focus mechanics are ridiculous. You can't 1v1 him. He's most likely going to win. If you decide to 1v1 him, you're down more people for the push. So it's like they didn't even know what to fucking do. It was one of the rare instances of a legitimate fucking skill issue. Like they actually couldn't kill focus to prevent that play from killing the whole team. And what other teams tried to do against us was there was another unit in the game called Turn A. Turn A had an ult that could also be used from a lower position to get above us, so they would rise up through the hole. This ult was the strongest ult in the entire game. And what this ult did is you essentially transform into a fucking flying, like, hover butterfly thing, and you shoot basically imagine a death ray shooting directly down onto the map below you. And if you're in that death ray, you just die.
Is it a beam or is it a Macross volley?
It is a massive AoE wall.
Okay.
And if Turn A is on the enemy team, you need to be aware of that, because that will lose you the whole point. Just easily. One ult, you're just dead. So what they were trying to do is they would try to send Turn A to fight Focus, and then when Focus ulted their team, they would try to ult our team to just chaotic neutral. The last man standing captures the point and flips it for the other team, right? But what we started doing is we caught on to that, and every time the Turn A had ult, we would fall back off of height entirely, just as they started taking our height. We would essentially give up height. But for some reason, this one particular team would still Turn A ult. Then we would just shoot the Turn A. So we would have man advantage now, and then they would still lose the fight, right?
Because he's not invulnerable during the ultimate?
No, he's not invulnerable during the ultimate. He's not CC immune. And he can't shoot. His only way of doing damage in that ult is if you are under him. So we just back off of height. If his team doesn't communicate, hey, you can't really ult, they're not that close, the play's just over, right? So it's kind of a rock and a hard place. Like, we put him in that situation specifically so we kind of force the Turn A ult, force the Turn A ult, get that out of our minds. Once Turn A ult is down, we can play normally. Once it's up, okay, be very fucking careful. You can't mess with that at all. So if you mess up once, you will lose that point. And then all the while, Focus is trying to 1v1 him in the low ground, and maybe he dies a couple times, because Turn A is a sniper character, well, semi-sniper. If he headshots Focus twice, he dies. So Focus has to be careful. And a couple times, I remember Focus got into a situation where if he lost the fight, we would lose the game, sort of thing. So that's another weird dynamic where Focus would tell us, I'm losing this 1v1 because he hit nice shots or something. The other guy did. I'm going to solo ult him. And he would only do this in very specific scenarios where we're like 95% of the way there, you know, we're gonna solo alt his ass. Sometimes he did that. I remember one time when we dropped this map, he I think he solo alted. I think he missed somehow. Because Ashmar Punch is it goes in a straight line, and you cannot directional change while you basically hit the button, you go in that direction for a certain distance, right? You cannot move at all while you're punching.
Is it function as a dash, or is it functioned as a button lockout?
It's a button lockout. It's a button lockout. You cannot do anything once you hit that alt.
Okay.
You are going in that direction where you are looking. That's it until the alt's over. And basically, you know, if you hit someone, they get stunned. That's how that works.
Okay.
So he missed it by a hair or something. And Turn A has a grab where he can grab through hyper armor.
Okay.
And it stuns you. He missed grab, but Focus missed the punch. So we killed Focus. Turn A ults. I think we got fucking wiped because we lose height. And that's how we dropped that map.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just fucking catastrophe for that one particular.
Okay.
But yeah, the general point is, I explained some scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, I totally forgot what the fuck we were talking about. So
Don't worry, I remember. So when you gave your first answer, your first answer that you were going to give was something else, and then you said the competitor in me. Does that imply that you have two answers to this question? To the question
I
of-
don't like losing,
Yes, I imagine you don't like it. I don't imagine anybody who likes
and
to,
no one
who
likes you losing if they're a competitive player.
Yes. I phrase it like that because I imagine there is a world where if I'm going to lose to somebody, they better be fucking better than me, right? If I'm gonna lose to somebody and I'm on my
They
shit,
better be
I
better than
think
me.
I think I'm hot shit, or I know that I'm doing well in the competition. With so many fucking games giving so many verbal feedbacks, I think Apex Legends is probably the more considerable one that is good. I think the way that Fortnite does it is really fucking shit. Not in terms of like kill cam, but specifically the amount of shit that pops up when you get a kill. Not just the loot, but all of the other shit that goes along with it. Just, if you know...
We're talking
you
about
know
like
well.
screen effects while you're shooting.
Screen
like,
effects, the actual feedback of the HUD, all that shit.
okay, yeah.
Specifically, like, the amount of information that you need to pay attention to, as well as focusing on what's directly in front of you. I'd imagine that any person who is a true competitor is going to have an opinion where they're going to be one way, whether they are on a camera or not, when they know they are trying to win, and how they're going to be when it's like boyfriend mode, if you get what I'm saying there. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I am in a tournament, there is $5,000 on the line for this slot alone, if we win, we get 10 mil. Something like that.
Yeah, yeah. When it's tournament day, I mean, you can look at the VODs. I'm like I wake up a different way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm here to compete, you know?
Like, I am here, I came with my cock out, let's rock out.
Yeah.
Then there's the philosophy of, I'm playing with friends, it's not that serious. I still am who I am, but I'm gonna take this 11, dial it down to a 6. My girlfriend's here, dial it down to a 4. Bringing up dad jokes. I can imagine that there is a world where there will be a lot of people, because when you made sure to attack the question the way you did, and I respect that you did that. No, I am not saying that if you're a good player, you're killing the game. But if you are a person who if you're in that scenario, if you are not, it's Timmy, who's willing, when you're asked the question, okay, so what the fuck am I supposed to do? Where you're like, all right, kid, you asked for it, and you go, you turn around, metaphorically speaking, I'm turning around, turn around, slap it on the table, big book of everything. Like,
Yeah.
All right, I see here.
Sometimes I'm willing to do that, and this is. I'm a Battlefield streamer. Okay, the Battlefield community is.
I
about as
imagine.
casual as you can get.
Imagine it's very vitrolic.
It is. Okay.
Go ahead, testify.
To put it very lightly,
Testify.
I am one of very few remaining legitimate sweats in Battlefield that actively communicate with community, all this sort of stuff. And naturally, people never really get exposed to that side of Battlefield because it's kind of gone away ever since midway through about Battlefield 1, right? The sweats have largely left. But when someone comes on my channel and they ask me super basic questions, literally, I swear to fucking God, I'm not exaggerating, 15, 20 times a stream. I want to be that person all the time that answers the question, but oh my God, does it fucking annoy me sometimes when, I don't know why it does. It's just like, it's you know what it is? It's widespread enough to where I know that me answering this is just like, it does nothing. Like, it just doesn't do anything. This guy comes into my stream and he'll be like, I get questions like, are you on console?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, dude, you can see in the bottom left, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 mouse side button. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hit tab to open the scoreboard.
It's very frustrating, especially when you
It is unbelievably, I struggle with answering those types of questions seriously. I really do, because I'm like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a problem for a long time. I should just let my fucking mods deal with it or something. Just let somebody else just answer the question. But like, sometimes I read it, I'm like, are you fucking stupid? Like, it just boggles my mind sometimes. And it just shouldn't happen. It really shouldn't happen. But every once in a while, just let it fucking go. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, hello? And it's no one anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But like, fuck's sake.
Because whenever I have that happen,
it's very frustrating.
yes, because whenever I have that happen, there's like a 9% chance where whatever they're about to say after first thing they do is that they follow the stream, then they start typing, and by the time it gets to the third or second message, it's like, I already know exactly what you're going to say, and I don't want to hear it.
Yes.
For League, it is always going to be, I don't know what it is about fucking Twitch players. Because I feel like every single person who plays League somehow has a Twitch, and they are the most fucking who out of the bunch. Because you could be playing a match in whatever fucking elo you want. As soon as you fucking pull out that VOD and you pull out your fucking stream link, you give it like fucking 30 seconds, they're gonna show up in your chat room and explain how actually you're the reason why we lost that. For the example I gave earlier, was like, we just need to go down mid, we just need a group, and it's like, no, you don't. What I need to do, because I'm playing a split pusher, is I need to apply pressure on the map so that you can go down mid, and then when you go down mid as 4, and we have vision of the top quadrant, so we know where they aren't and where they are, I can be able to shove the lane, and when they show that they're going to send 4 people to the top side, I can walk backwards, and you can start sieging. And then when they try to go to you in the mid lane, I can continue sieging again. And if I am playing Yorick, I release the Maiden to the top lane, further down the lane where they're going to think, oh, it's not that big of a deal yet, before they still realize the Maiden is shoving. Then they're going to have to choose between, do we fight the 4 people in mid, do we fight the Yorick who's split pushing our bottom lane, or do we aggress that giant 50 minion plus wave that's going into our tower line, being pushed by an automatic 6th man that even if we kill them, it doesn't mean that we killed anybody on their team. How do I spread them around? How do I make them waste the resources? And every single time, whenever it happens, I swear to God, it's every single fucking time, they come in and they start ranting about shit that was not even a fucking factor. And then when you play the VOD back, the worst part's when they ask for the fucking playback, and so you play the VOD back from your point of view, not from their point of view. When you show them everything that's happening and what led into the decision making, whether it's an FPS, whether it's a MOBA. I think the worst case example is when it's planet side, because if you happen to be on
do
comms,
top-down recordings of our internal scrims for games that allow that to happen, like to have a spectator system. And it's so funny sometimes. Like, a guy will not understand what happened on the team, and then you'll watch the top-down view. It's like, bro, you were playing a different game.
Like, where were you aiming? Where were you?
Yeah, and
where were you aiming at?
Yeah, they were like, oh, yeah, okay, well, I guess I'll just have to fucking listen to the call more or something.
even worse when you know you're playing by yourself. So it's you with your dick out in this lobby full of other people. You don't know who's who. You don't know what's what. You have a game, win or lose. Somebody comes in. You know what the fuck you were talking about, bro. You talking all that tough shit. Bring him into the call. Like, you neutralize the environment, which I feel, despite the fact that we don't like the dirty word debate, especially when it comes to Twitch bros. Lord forgive this fucking application die in a fucking fire. For all the good that it can have and things, for all the fucking good that can be had from an interaction with people on a game like Don't Starve Together. It's a sandbox game made by Clay.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. Let it burn. Let it fucking burn. I don't care anymore. Let it burn. Let it fucking burn. I swear to God, every single time they come in, hostile as shit, bring them into the call. Ironically, a little bit like what could happen here, but it didn't. And that's the
Dude, the funny part is,
Go ahead.
I totally forgot what the fuck I was gonna say. But God, the dynamic that I've observed, because I'm such a strange character in the Battlefield community, I am a sweaty, competitively oriented streamer. First of all, no one streams Battlefield. The Battlefield community detests content creators. It's the strangest dynamic I've ever seen in my entire life. They actively hate streamers, hate YouTubers, hate anything to do competitively. I am the opposite of what is typical for the Battlefield community. And when someone comes into my channel spouting off and I return the same energy, it is seen as I did something wrong.
I always find it interesting
and that's hilarious to me.
I always find it interesting that it happens because I know the reason why it's done. It's for the same reason I was mentioning earlier about the difference between the casual players and the actual signed professionals or competing professionals. They get to say what they want, no matter how vitriolic it is. But if I even match their energy, I don't even have to say any of the words. I don't even have to say the gamer word. Despite
I'm
my
blessed
complexion.
to I'm signed to I'm signed to a sponsor, right? My team is a team of friends. I'm not signed to them, right? So, and I'm blessed to be able to be signed to a sponsor that essentially just lets me. I don't have to change anything, right? And I won't, because if I did, I wouldn't sign to that sponsor.
That is the correct position.
Yes, it is. So I'm blessed to be able to just do whatever the fuck I want, basically within reason. And they really don't like that sometimes, because oh man, you should see the way some of these guys come in into my chat, and then I'm the problem. There's a Reddit post now, toxic streamer enders. It's like, hold on, let me pull the chat logs up where you come in here and berate me 3 fucking times, right? You don't like that when I return that. But I'm a piece of yes.
When I first created a piece of content that I do on my channels right now, one of them got a bullshit strike from YouTube because for some reason they believe that a woman choosing to violate a man by nut tapping him because she thought a statue performer, one of those live.
I saw that video.
Yes, you probably saw the exact one that got me striked on my channel.
Yes, I literally saw that video. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Black woman walks up, nut taps him, thought he wasn't real, then starts running away. That guy's standing there like,
it's
what the fuck?
literal assault, by the way.
They struck me for that exact video, and I didn't even promote it.
Here's the thing, flip that. What's bro? That'd be on national news. Like,
but in any of those situations where on a particular piece of that content that I made for Versus Chat, where my audience can be able to be in my voice call with me live and go over the content, we had a person that decided to come in and decided, oh, you let audience interact with people? He thought that he would have direct access to my guests at all times, just asking them questions that had nothing to do with the content.
Okay.
I try to talk to him. I'm like, okay, here's my problem with it. I don't mind if you talk to them, but I do need you to not treat this like this is just access through Carl time, right? I walk away from the conversation being like, okay, I feel like we got over a bridge. Guy runs to my fucking show, to my co-host for my podcast, tries to talk shit about how I'm controlling everything in this. I pull up the fucking VOD with the shit, and I try to talk to him about it, and he's nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Cross-platform ban, because that's my rule. If a person decides to do shit like that in my audience, You don't get to be anywhere nearby me. You don't get to do it on my stream.
Oh
you don't
no,
get to go on my Twitch.
I am the master of finding your accounts wherever they may be. I will remove you from my space. Like,
I feel that it's a fair thing to do too, because it's
absolutely.
because
Why
it's not
get
even
the fuck away from me?
It's not even censorship at that point. Because if you want to take it at the base position, it's like the first level. Okay, listen, you can't do that. I've already said how I feel. You've clearly decided to push past my boundaries. This is a violation of my rules.
Well, if you're bringing in someone to talk to, there has to be an understanding of how the situation is going to be handled, or else you are never going to be able to get anywhere, right? That is why, this again harking back to any sort of internal team stuff that we do. When there is a meeting, most of the time we're in a channel where the team leader has sole permissions to speak. Why? Because we're there to listen to what we have to say. Then we're moved to a channel where we get to discuss things if we need to. And guess what? It goes a lot fucking smoother, doesn't it? It goes a lot smoother. Because there's an understanding of what we're here to actually do and what we're here to talk about. Now, if someone comes in, if you bring in a guest, like say I came in to this Discord, and we just started fucking yelling at each other, right? The conversation would have been over an hour and 15 minutes ago, because you absolutely would have just left the call, right? Like, yes. I would have left the call. I wouldn't even have entertained that for 30 seconds.
Because there's always a point where it's like, do I entertain this for content, or am I here to have a discussion? Me, because I'm a person who develops these games and cares about this shit, I actually like having the ability to play more than just Path of Exile, because all of the games that I play get infected by the same sort who believe that they have the right to say shit to the people who might be the backbone or the lifeblood of it, but whenever they're given any kind of criticism, critique, or anything, they're like, no, everything you have to say is toxic. You just need to listen and behave, because the way that you speak to me demonstrates the reason why I should have this. Like, okay, I can't help you. Yeah, thank you, goodbye. Because I used to not have that perspective. And then they killed Phantasy Star Online too. And I'm like, nope, get him out. Get him out! Send him back! Send him back where they came from! Can't have it! Because it's an entirely different philosophy at that point. Because the mindset isn't even in the same place. Which is why I asked you that question the way I did. Because if I have to choose between, if I'm going to play a game, if I play any game, competitively, semi-competitive, professional, casual, streaming with my fucking audience, streaming with my girlfriend, streaming with my friends, whatever. If I'm going to play a game, I'm going to try to take and give my best foot to understand and learn the game. Because I see a chat here that was on the screen.
That's how I play games. I sweat in single player games because I like learning the mechanics. You know what I mean? Like if I play, what's a fucking single player? If I play BioShock, there's like a weapon animation cancel, and it's probably like a mild autism or something. But I like the high APM. You know, I like having high APM. It feels cool, all right? Yes, I am sweating in a single-player game for absolutely no stakes. What are you going to do about it, you know?
We could always use the Cuphead angle, because everybody loves to use Dean Takahashi. I know I do. How it feels to know that I'm better than a fucking video game fucking journalist. But everybody can use the example of Cuphead, right? If I do sweating in a single
Dark Souls.
Game, yes, Dark Souls. Dark Souls is always an iffy comparison because there's always the single player aspect of the game, but then they try to apply that mindset of you can't tell me how to play the game to the multiplayer, and it's like, motherfucker, I came here to Gravelord you.
Dark Souls PvP is like, if you take that seriously, I feel like I don't know, that's just like, you're weird.
There's some
Aren't there just one-shot builds in that? Like,
oh yes, like the original Dark Souls, Demon Souls, it's dumb. When you can engage with it on the level of Oro, Eve Purison, or Chase the Bro, there is an elegant art to it. But at that point,
I've watched many of Chase's videos.
You have to be at a point where you are able to establish, okay, this is not about sweating, this is not about cheesing. Although technically, in Elden Ring, there is no such thing as cheesing. If I decide I want to invade you at fucking Soul Level 1 with the Scarlet Rot Dagger from the Hagrid tree, listen, bro. I caught you trading in the first church giving over a Moonblade. You gotta die. You gotta die. I'm sorry, I have to do it to you at that point. Like, I came here, you knew what the fuck was happening, you went on to the multiplayer, they should have warned you. If they didn't, let this be your lesson, and let it never happen again. But if you show up and it's like, I show up and, oh, there's 3 golden fingers? Alright, I'm pulling out Scythe. Like, I know what this is. There's only one reason they're here. It's not like it was in old Dark Souls where you wanted to go do invasion for whatever reason, and oh, there's a bunch of Haveldads and Havel bombs ninja flipping at you at max speed. This feels good. Like, it's not that world anymore. But a lot of people compare it to that, where they take that philosophy, and I feel that it's important to mention that, especially this message from the because. I'm 28, full-time job, 9 hours daily, married to 2 kids, play around 2 hours every day with any kind of game that I have. I play, I get good, not because I'm pro, or because I watch good players, I see what they do, and if I see something I don't understand, I'm gonna Google it, I'm gonna practice it, and I'm good to go. What Ender talks about are the ones who are too lazy to learn. This is probably the thing that ruins a lot of games, because that dichotomy of what we're talking about is basically everything we've been autistically speaking about. Some people call it autism. I know I can have my autistic spits about whatever game I'm into, and you probably can too in your own way. This is two people who understand the concept, and it's like, okay, we might have differences here or there, but there's some clear, foundational beliefs that we understand are gospel. There's a clear book both of us can understand and read from. Then there's everything else that happens in that ecosystem environment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when you interact... Yes, go ahead.
My tweet when I tweeted why FPS games are all dog shit nowadays, my main point... First of all, I tweeted that tilted. Second of all, my main point behind all of that is I do not like them intentionally dumbing down or removing mechanics in order to make a fuckload of money. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
You are removing what makes games so interesting for a lot of people in order to, like, protect a certain revenue stream and just, like, make them fucking buy microtransactions because they're gonna stick around. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I don't like them ruining games the way they are. It is a bad way to ruin games. A good way to ruin a game is, okay, you release a game, it's dog shit, it dies, deserved, your game's trash. Modern Warfare 2, for instance, you release a game, some people could argue it's a good game. I would argue it's the worst Call of Duty I've ever seen in my entire life, specifically because there's just simply no reason for me to play it, because there's no depth. There's no depth at all. From the minute I start that game, give me 15 minutes, I promise you, I will be 95% of the way mechanically to the best I will ever be in that game. And that is worthless to me. It's worthless. And that's why I know people with 350,000 YouTube subs that made their channel off of Warzone 1 that do not play Warzone 2. Think about that for a second. They are making potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars off of their YouTube videos of them doing whatever they're doing in Warzone 1, getting 30, 40 kill games, slide canceling over the place. You can say whatever you want about that, right? But the fact that they have that much incentive to play Warzone 2 and they literally essentially lose their own job through their own choosing of not playing Warzone 2 because they disagree with it so much, that's insane to me. That is craziness that 180 can occur, where Warzone 1 is the way it is, and I didn't play Warzone 1. I won't play. To be honest with you, aim assist to me, I'm not playing against it if I don't have the choice. Okay, I understand it needs to be in the game, blah blah blah. But when I see shit like I see in Modern Warfare 2, I'm sorry, it's not legitimate to me. Now, in Warzone 2, you remove the movement, you remove the game's slower in general, you remove so many of these things, and it just becomes this. It becomes like Battlefield 1. That's what I relate to it. But even Battlefield 1's more difficult. Battlefield 1, it becomes a pure positioning game. Pure positioning. There's very little in the way of mechanical talent because the aim assist has closed that gap for aiming. It's closed it. I've seen the fucking clips. It's cheats, essentially, in my opinion. It's 0 millisecond reaction time, auto rotation. That gap is closed, in my opinion, for aiming. You remove all the movement. Everyone moves the same. It's just pure positioning, and in a BR, it's fucking random half the time anyway. So it's like there's nothing here in this game, and that, in my view, is why that game died. That's why no one's playing it. There's nothing there. And that's just how I see it.
Mm-hmm. Because I could make a similar argument about ARPGs using Diablo 4. Because you mentioned that Diablo 4 is the only one you played.
Yes, it is the only one I played. Actually, well, it's not an RPG. Well, I played Wizard 101 at a particularly autistic level when I was like 12.
I think you're the first person I've met who actually has played Wizard 101 and has admitted it.
Oh no, I've played that game. I've talked about this at the stream. I literally invented metas in that game. Okay, that's how weird I was. I was the guy to sit down and look through every single piece of gear and put a specific piece of gear set together to achieve a specific goal of what I wanted to. I was that fucking guy. And I remember talking with this particular YouTuber who made a video about, oh, this is the greatest gear set for this school. I was like, what the fuck? I looked at my build and like, this is just objectively better in like all categories. And I showed it to him. He was like, how did you even figure this out? Like, and me, 12-year-old me was like, oh, if I made this specific pet with these specific stats that unlocked the ability for me to use this particular gear that you can only farm here, that allowed me to use these other pieces of gear. And that's how I made the set.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where I was going with that point, but yes, I played Wizard 101.
Oh no, there's something similar to that. Okay. Have you ever seen people play Diablo 2?
No. Shockingly, I have been aware of Diablo for a very long time, and the FPS climate, the way it is,
Mm-hmm.
I saw Diablo 4, everyone was talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I just go, okay, I'm gonna buy the fucking game.
Okay.
I didn't even know I was gonna like it. I just bought it.
Okay.
And I understand people's criticisms about the end game being lacking.
Mm-hmm.
I think some particular PoE players are fucking insufferable, because here's the thing. In my understanding, PoE's been out for a long time and has had the ability to accumulate a lot of end game content.
Yes.
And while I understand that Diablo 4's end game content, even from a release date, might not be satisfactory to a lot of people, you gotta give them time, in my opinion.
I agree.
You gotta give them a little time to get some end game stuff going. Plus, they're sort of incompetent, as I'm starting to discover, with certain aspects of game balance, and the resistance doesn't even work. Like, I played Sorcerer, which if you know anything about Diablo 4, Sorcerer is essentially, you're not even playing the game because the class is so fucking dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
One of the class's main things is you have resistance to all elements, and that is apparently not even functional. So, like, I'm seeing some of the criticisms now,
It's horrible.
but I still have fun with the game. And I would not consider myself... Diablo 4 being my first Diablo, I would not consider myself to be a casual knight at all.
Mhm.
Like, I am actively grinding best in slot gear. I'm actively understanding, like, builds and all that shit. I want to kill the end game boss. You know, I'm doing all the things that would qualify me as not being a normie when it comes to Diablo.
Mm-hmm. I bring it up to compare the Diablo 4 experience to my experience with Diablo 3, and pretty
Okay.
much Diablo in general. The original Diablo 2 system was the system that exists now that they re-released with Vicarious Games Remake, which in my opinion is probably the most egregious cash grab I have ever seen that year in terms of trying to get a game, because it's literally the same game repackaged from 20 years ago. There was a problem in the community with what we call the D2 trade store. A bunch of bots, specifically automated, probably playing Fire, Lightning, Ice Orbs Works, playing with Magic Find gear, pumped up to the wazoo, all the old school equipment that was available, with the exception of, like, very specific niche in-game shit, Annulus Charm, Heat Charm, Hellfire Torch. They made a mess of the game's economy by basically running weapons, items into the ground, bots designed with gatebuster password breakers that basically you couldn't even play a game private by yourself if these bots were rampant, to the point where the game was optimized to lack of fun. There was nothing to do except for the end game things, but they were so niche that most people didn't get to do them. And also the problem with having the D2 storehouses is that people's real accounts were being stolen because they were trying to buy items from these, like, very skeevy auction warehouses.
Great.
Right? So then comes Diablo 3. In their infinite wisdom, because it happened in stages, in their infinite wisdom, Blizzard said, okay, we're going to take this game. The problem that we're dealing with is we're dealing with bots. So here's what we're going to do. We're not going to allow people to be able to just monetize our game outside. We're going to bring it in-house. This is already a fucking problem as I'm explaining it. So begins the gold and the real money auction house. Take a fucking guess what happened.
I don't even know. Did people like inflate the prices to the point where it's unobtainium or what?
Well, two things, technically three, but that is one of them, yes. What happened is that when you had the original system, as designed with vanilla Diablo 3, along with error code 63, it was the disconnect code for when there's too many people in the game, in the server world, or you just constantly were disconnecting. On top of that being an issue, the way that the game was designed is that, as every ARPG does, there is a point in the game where once you are at the end game, or that time period it was, for the vanilla, every enemy has an equal chance to drop a legendary. But the only way to get your drop chance to go higher was this very lame-ass system that they designed called Paragon. The Paragon system was basically an over-leveling system. Get to the max level, which at the time was 60, and then...
Is it the same Paragon system in D4?
I don't know if it's the exact same system, but if it's similar to the point that it had Magic Find attached to it, then yes.
The Diablo 4 Paragon system is a series of boards and glyphs that essentially gets you the endgame damage and stats and stuff that you need to do endgame content.
Basically, if it looks like and it's similar to what I've actually seen, what they did with Diablo 4 is they made it a little bit more like Path of Exile, which if you've never seen the Path of Exile skill tree, prepare yourself. This is gonna be.
Oh no, I've heard stories about the spreadsheets and you essentially need a degree, is my understanding, to play that game.
Not so much. However, I am still gonna bring out the picture of the Path of Exile skill tree. I'm gonna bring out the skill tree. I'm gonna bring out the Atlas skill tree, which is an entirely separate part of the game. Prepare yourself. Have you ever played Final Fantasy X?
No.
You haven't?
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Never?
No, I've literally never played Final Fantasy in my life ever.
Wow, that's surprising. Well,
I'm weird.
This is about to be a doozy. Feast your eyes.
Let me see this.
I'm gonna put this on screen for people. I'm gonna put this on screen for the people in the chat room too, in case nobody's ever seen this before. Which is
really? This is fucking crazy.
If you're a person,
does it start from the center?
No, it does not actually. That is an entirely different class. So I will try to explain this to you as best as I can.
So okay, I see.
Okay.
There are 6 nodes in the center. Do you start from one of the centermost ring nodes or no?
Okay, so you see that centermost node, right?
Yes.
The very center of the map. That is the Scion node tree. All of those nodes on the outer edge, the bigger circles with the 3 deviating tripoints, starting from each of the cardinal directions, which in this case would be the triangle, that is the strength, the dexterity, and the intelligence nodes of the base characters.
Okay.
And then the other triangle pieces in the opposite direction. If you want to call it like a triangle, the inverted triangle, those are the hybrid trees. The strength intelligence, the dexterity intelligence, and the strength dexterity hybrids.
Okay.
All of the classes use the exact same skill tree, but they start in different positions. The Scion is a special class that has access to the center of the map, so she can move out from a specialized direction, but she is unlocked once you have actually gotten to a specific point of the base game in Act 3 as you're moving on to the higher acts. The mapping process, if you get really good and you spend time, well, you not necessarily even optimizing, but if you try to move as quickly as you can be out of the campaign within 3 to 4 hours. But most people, they're gonna be very, very, very lost just by seeing this alone. So they might take maybe 7-8 hours to get to the maps, which is the end-game content, the beginning of the end-game content. Anyways.
See, me personally, if I saw this, I would simply learn about it.
See, you're different though. You're just like you are literally built different, because this is probably one of the biggest pain points for Path of Exile alone, right? If you look at this, does this not remind you of your Diablo 4 skill tree?
It reminds me of it, but it's Diablo 4 skill tree is much more linear.
It's much more linear.
Much more linear.
Yes.
Looking at this, I'm not even fucking intimidated, if I'm being completely honest with you. I bet you I could learn this just fine, given enough time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there are builds, and I'm sure there is some sort of system for pathing, and I'm sure there are systems outside of this even that you're trying to build around. Like I know there's sort of gems. Someone was talking. Zyros was telling me about the gem system, and that's fucking weird. I'm like, okay, holy shit.
Basically, the gem system is every skill in the game is attached to a gem. If you're not playing in the new Ruthless mode, where gems are basically disabled on drop, or excuse me, they're disabled on trade. You have to get them from drop. You can basically buy every skill in the game from a particular vendor, with the exception of like very exceptional rare skill gems. But we have
and there are also things that increase the amount of skills you can have, gems you can have, which means increased amount.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, and we do use a program called Path of Building. It's a community fork that basically acts as a build guide for you. We can make builds on them, and we can then make videos where we put the link in the description bar. So,
and let me guess, it's a 2-hour build video.
Not even necessarily 2 hours. Realistically, most builds tend to be a showcase video, and they drop the link for the build, and they say what uniques you need to have and what type of items you need to have. I will actually look up a video for you, and I will throw it at you. Probably I'll use one of Zizzarin's, because Zizzarin's are usually very straightforward, and probably the easiest for most people to use. Because the kind of builds that you're going to make when you play Path of Exile.
Are there capstone skills? Like, is there like the most badass skill that
yes,
you're building?
Those are called keystones.
Keystones. Okay,
some keystones are specifically, if you take this, you can't take anything else. Some keystones are, if you take this, you open up an entire different way of building. Like, let me see if I can see it if I freeball this here. So if you look all the way at the top of the screen and over to the right there, maybe towards if you go from the direct center all the way up, and then you go over, so you see that one big node there, and then you skip over that next tree node, the next tree node there, and over there. You see that node right there on the top right corner, next to that bigger node for, I think that's fire damage, if I'm remembering correctly. That's either fire damage or it's chaos damage. That node is chaos inoculation. You take that node, your maximum health is reduced to 1, but you are permanently immune to chaos damage. This is specifically designed so that you build it with Energy Shield, because Energy Shield can protect your health. But there is a particular item in the game, and I actually have the fucking thing open because I had to go to the skill tree anyways. There is build enabling uniques, just like any other AoE tree. There is one unique specifically called Chevron's Wraps. Stupid ass name that nobody ever fucking pronounces. It's actually pronounced Chevron, but people aren't fucking French like me. Chav Wraps. Chav Wraps. Just tap in Wraps. Maybe we'll pull it up. There we go. There is an item called Chevron's Wrappings. This item is a build enabling unique that has a particular line on it, and I'll copy paste the picture to you because I'm not sure if it'll come up with just the auto picture. That has this particular line on there, which is the most important line, which says chaos damage does not bypass
energy shield. Yeah.
This is an item that says, if I find this item in my game, because they can drop linked, they have a specific amount of slots up to 6, and then they can be linked up to 6. If you get a Chav Wrap drop, that's a 6 link on drop. Congratulations, you just won your league.
You won the lottery, yeah.
Like, this is very rare. To find the item itself is good. It's very rare to begin with, and there are ways to set yourself up to farm them, but to find it and it to be 6 to 4 linked, even a 4 link is enough. Boy, the game is won. This is the philosophy of what all ARPGs is built around, right? Getting back to Diablo 2. Diablo 2's problem was that you're familiar with rune words. I'm not sure how they do them in Diablo 4, but rune words, right? You're familiar with them. I assume there's rune words.
I don't even think they're in Diablo. Rune words?
Rune words.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so all of the builds for Diablo 2 were based around O skill. Basically, things like Call to Arms, Enigma. What I'm thinking of the shield one. What's the shield one? Starts with a Zod rune. It's not coming to mind, but I'm imagining it. No, I'm probably thinking of just the Zakharum's Herald. Zakharum's Herald socketed with a Zod for resistances. But a bunch of items. Tal Rasha's, Tribals, sets designed around plus skill. Something that gives you something like, say, a special skill on Enigma. Enables you to have teleport. Usually only supposed to be for the sorceress. You get teleport, you put a bunch of Ozo skills to it, now you're fucking blinking around the map like a madman. Builds like the Ice Orb sort, which they had it innately, or the one that I played, the Paladin Magic Hammer Blinker. 26k damage, a cast, and the hammer would always circle outwards, so you would hit up to 300k damage, which is literally one-shot damage in Diablo 2 terms. Killing everything on the map. You go from there to the Paragon system, that's designed for Diablo 3, where instead of having access to these different particular skills that your character can play, they instead decided to lock the rune word system to that stupid-ass system where a skill can have multiple different runes, but they only can be affected by one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And the original vanilla system made it so that there was a particular place inside of Act 1 that we went to. I forget the fucking name of it. It's probably something called the Tomb of the Ancients or something or other. Den or something. It was a zone that had a very specific, tightly knit pack of enemies that we would kill because they were the best pack of condensed enemies to fight, that if you fought them with a group of 4 people, you had a general okay chance over an hour session to find upwards of 10 to 15 legendaries, put them on the marketplace, pop them in for like $100, $200, $300. Sometimes the most rare and expensive ones that are the best rolled go up to 1,000, 5,000. This probably should be very obvious as I'm mentioning these real world money numbers.
Yeah.
Paying exorbitant amounts of money for what is effectively an NFT. Let's be dead ass. We are playing video games, we are playing NFTs. When you buy a skin in a game, you are paying for an NFT. I'm sorry if you like your big titty champions, wonderful swimsuit skin. Listen, the fucking, the person who designed that skin for whatever company you got it for, they're not even allowed to wear that shit in fucking California. But you got that big titty, that is an NFT, bro. It is yours to have. I will never take it from you, but it is an NFT. I'm sorry. People paying that much money. And the gold money option was no different. It was max cash. Every single fucking one of these. Max cash. Unbelievable. The only thing that was a fair amount of money was the fucking gems. You know, the flawless, the ruby, the uniques, the perfects. This is before they introduced the tier that was above perfect. I forgot what they call those ones, but it was a fucking mess. It was a fucking mess. So, they shut down the real money auction house, thus destroying the actual economy of the storehouses. Who would have thought, guys? The best way to stop the fucking storehouses from making money off your game was to stop giving them the opportunity to make money off your game. They made the system over, started over in Reaper of Souls, introduced Smart Loot 2.0. If you play the game, let's say you pick a barbarian, the game will specifically drop you equipment and materials tiered to your stat, not to your class, to your stat. So if I play a barbarian, and let's say I want to do a build like I did when I was playing the game actively, I want to make a 6-4 Rake Yours Wild build. This is a build that utilizes 5 pieces of Rake Yours Wild, which is a barbarian set, and another 4 pieces of another barbarian set, enabled by an item called the Ring of Royal Grandeur, which came from Adventure Mode in Act 1 that allowed you to get the set effect of a set by wearing one less piece of equipment to enable its effect. This was before they added the additional update, which brought back the cube! I don't know if I have the cube in Diablo 4, but the Project Cube, very, very iconic piece of Diablo 2. They brought it back in the form of a new character called Zoltan Cool, literally called Kool-Aid. It is both a joke and a consumable item. It was a potion that you could have, because they did potions differently in that game. You had a basic potion that could heal you, for a basic amount up to the basic specific tool. Then they had different types of potions that did different things. And the Kool-Aid was a potion that allowed you to break through walls. Yes, they did the meme. That allowed you to break out of walls that were created by elite packs, because there are elite jailers that could block you in. And basically, the jailer would put you in a zone of control. They would put impassable walls if you didn't have a dash for your build in your kit, and you basically needed to kill them or get out of the wall, or you take heavy damage because they had basically corridor style attacks. Kool-Aid, press the button, break out the wall, move around. It was all about movement and cooldown reduction, whatever. Fucking Son Goku monk builds, playing nothing but lightning and cold and light-based damage. Game was healthy-ish. We got to the point where we optimized the fun to the point where you could play Torment 12 with an optimized build, do billions of damage. Game was fun. Game was fun. It was entertaining for all. For some people, it got boring to them, so they eventually went to Diablo 2 again, and then they went back, and then they found Path of Exile, and they became addicts, because, yeah, that game had a lot of time to fucking develop itself. I don't even remember how old this game is anymore. I think it's maybe 10 years old. Then it got to the point where people were clamoring, hoping that Diablo Immortal was going to bring the kind of content that they got in Diablo 3. They were very sorely disappointed, because they indeed did have phones and found out how bad it was. Then they released Diablo 4. Diablo 4 I wouldn't say is a shit show, but I would say, for a person who remembers what Diablo was, I would say, if you are playing the game and you wanted to be a super hardcore grinder, you want to be premier content creator, bro, good luck. I don't know how you're doing it. If you want to do it because you're playing the game to have fun the same way that I could play the game to play Path of Exile to have fun, you're more or less going to get a similar experience, but you're getting it at a lower tier quality, in my opinion. Because if I wanted to buy Diablo 4, even if I wanted to play the game, why would I do that when I can play Path of Exile for free? Sure, I have all the fucking things that you could buy with all of my NFTs of my stock in my storage space. Because in this game, you have particular stashes you can actually buy. You can have a currency stash where you put all your items, because in Path of Exile, there is no gold at all. There is a gold standard, and that's a Chaos Orb. But there are different other currencies that have a value, and they're all crafting materials. Every single item, even down to the scroll of wisdom that you use to identify, it is the lowest tier currency. And then there's all the other currencies that allow you to make items from normal to magic, make a normal item from normal to rare, convert a magic item to rare, scour an item and change it back to a white item, possibly have a chance of turning an item into a legendary with the Orb of Gambling, your Chaos Orbs, which allow you to re-roll the stats of a yellow item, so you can infinitely re-roll it to try to get stats that will work for your build, which we often do. It's called chaos spamming. Everything that you can imagine you could do with a currency to transform an item into something you use, as well as metacrafting, which then needs to use those as a resource to then create stats or put and apply stats to an item. It all can do that shit and more. If you were looking for an experience similar to that, you would be getting the similar-ish experience of Diablo 4 as you would Path of Exile. I look over at Path of Exile, and I look over at Diablo 4, for example, just because it was in the news, and I ask myself, how would this game play if every single time I saw a player in the town, the game lagged to shit because it was uploading them and everything in their stash tab? The game would be unplayable.
Oh no, it'd be, yeah, I that problem I recently learned of. I was like, what the like,
well, see,
it's just game devs nowadays are just, I don't even know what they're doing on some of these games.
See, as I have 3 problems there, because like you said earlier, I have a problem with that as a player, I have a problem with that as a developer, and I have a problem with that as a coder. As a player, I'm like, bro, what the fuck?
Yeah, bro, what the fuck are you doing? As a developer, you're like, what kind of solution is this?
As a developer, I'm like...
as a coder, you're probably like, how did you even do that?
Yes, like, as a developer, I'm like, okay, so in your infinite wisdom, you decided, okay, we're not gonna give people a small amount of stash tab space. Okay, whatever, cool. Most of the people who are gonna be playing the game probably might be playing solo by themselves. Maybe they don't get their friends to have it. This is an expensive fucking $60, $70 game. Who knows? Hands up in the air. My hands are tied. Hands are tied, right?
They're probably gonna have to fix it. They are.
Well,
they probably won't, because it's Blizzard.
They probably fucking won't.
They're going to have to, but they won't.
Because when you get to that point, it's like, okay, so you had to make some concessions, but how the fuck did you think this was? How did this launch? How did this get to live? You pushed this to live? Really? You looked your manager in the face. You said, this is fine. This is completely fine. We're gonna store the cache data that would normally be saved, because this is technically the same thing with any Diablo game. It's the wide stash data. It's a data set that specifically is saved as a text file in your game. If you understand how to edit the file, you could basically give yourself anything in the game. But that's the single player game, right? How did you do that in the multiplayer servers? How did you attach player data to the multiplayer server data for the player character? You know how when sometimes your cell phone will have user data stored from an application on your phone, and occasionally you'll have to delete the app from your phone to get rid of that storage data because it's invisible to your system. It literally cannot see that data, but it knows it's accumulating it. So you look at how much data is actually on your device, and you're like, wait, this device has literally an SD card of 64 fucking gigabytes in it. How am I picking up 56 gigabytes? And you delete something like TikTok, it's like, oh, I see. It's that problem. Yeah. But then as a coder, I think to myself, how did you get it to function like that? How did you attach the data? Because in your heart of hearts, you know that they're going to add the ability to buy storage space if they haven't already. So you have this problem that is caused by the storage space that's being loaded by players that are playing the game, and they store shit in there.
They already have the ability to buy storage space. They start with one tab, and you can buy just with gold, just in-game gold. You can buy 3 more equal-sized storage spaces.
Do they have any additional features that allow you to buy more with real money or not?
No.
See, in my mind, I eventually think they have to do that because, like, that's an easy way to make money. Path of Exile does this.
I don't think they have the gall. I don't think they do.
Because the problem is,
it's one of those things where I'm looking at them and going, do it.
See,
you won't do it.
The problem is, and it's just something that grinding your games can do, even though they're technically owned by 40% by Tencent, but they were already a profitable company before that. Because this is the way that Path of Exile works. Every expansion is funded by the players. They don't need to come up with any bullshit ways to justify creating it. They have supporter packs, and anything you buy as a microtransaction in the shop, including your...
Directly supports the game.
Yeah. They recently added a battle pass, but it's hardly a battle pass. It's more like, if you give us money for $30, you can get skins for some of these unique things. And then they updated the battle pass where it's like, okay, you don't even have to give us money. We're going to give you free shit for just playing the game. That's shit that's going to be functional for you to play through your in-game mapping experience, because it doesn't become a factor until you get to the end game. So if a person came along and was complaining about it, it's like, bro, it's literally free. You don't have to give them $30 to get a skin. You don't need any skins to enjoy this game. Even if you bought it. It wouldn't be a case of like, they're going to use this to try and pay for their other fucking endeavor. Because in my mind, and I know that you would know this in your mind, it's like, if I give you money for Diablo 4, I know for a fact you're going to try and use it on fucking Overwatch 2. Not a problem for grinding your games. They only have one game, and even if they did use that, for now, because Path of Exile 2 hasn't released yet, they're working on it. If I give you my money, you're going to use that, and you're going to make a new Challenge League. Because the new league, I think, was going to be announced somewhere in the 2nd or 3rd week of August. When that Challenge League gets released, any money I spend on them before, now, or forever is going to be used for the next developing pack. So I will literally give them my money so they can make a better game, and it will never affect my experience negatively. They might...
Yeah, with EA and with Battlefield, I pride myself in not only never participating in a microtransaction within Battlefield, I've actually had people donate me money because I saw a skin in the shop. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'll never buy it. I've had people donate me the amount of the skin, and I'd be like, yeah, I mean, do you want me to refund you this, or can I just keep it? Because I'm still not buying the skin.
Because at that point, it's a philosophical problem. Because it's like, this is really cool. It looks nice. I'm not going to support you. You're a horrible company. I want you guys.
Yeah, you're literally a piece of shit company.
I want your company to burn
I don't know
fire.
if you're familiar with Well, actually, you're definitely not familiar with this situation. I am probably known as Battlefield's biggest active critic right now, and I will humbly state that is a deserved title, but they deserve the criticism.
Absolutely.
And I'm people think that I'm some fucking off the chain, I don't think about anything that I say in my videos. That couldn't be more wrong. Any opinion that I put in a video, I actively think about it, and I think, okay, well, what are the other options here? And I go through the options. Okay, no, this is wrong because of this, and then I say that, and I give credit where credit is due, and I critique them where critique is needed. And it's obvious shit. It's obvious things, like, for instance, real simple. Transport vehicles. What is the purpose of a transport vehicle? It is to get people from one point to another point, right? And they're typically very lightly armored. Well, not lightly armored. They don't have much in terms of firepower, right? They have maybe a light machine gun, heavy machine gun. That's it. The transport vehicles in Battlefield 2042 are literally stronger in some cases than the attack vehicle, and they have better weapons. And you know, that I played Battlefield for a long time. That's never how it was. It's never how it's supposed to be. Critique that. Makes no fucking sense, right? Why does the Super Hind have a fully automatic unlimited ammo grenade launcher with 2 omnidirectional minigun? Why does the Super Hind have all of this and more health than most, actually no, the most health out of all air vehicles, and it climbs faster than any helicopter in the entire game, and it can be repaired not only by the driver but by 2 people in the vehicle?
Mm-hmm.
And I critique that, rightfully so, because I'm a sane individual. And there it is. Like, they deserve the criticism. What the fuck was my original point? I was saying something about
Dice's #1 hater.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, I get that reputation, but it's like totally undeserved, because this criticism that I deliver is like, dude, this makes no sense. Anyone with a brain sees that. You know, it doesn't. It simply does not make any sense. This was never the balanced decisions that were made in the past, and for a good reason. Similarly, I remember. Similarly, I made a critique about a certain developer making a weapon, decision, balanced decision, and I called this developer in a video that I made by his name. I was under the assumption that is completely fine, because on his public accounts he uses his full name, and on Battlefield sponsored podcasts where he is a guest, he uses his full name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he is using his name. That's him. The weapon decision that he made was inarguably absolutely incompetent, to the point where I can't even encapsulate how fucking stupid it was, right? Like, oh my god, it pisses me off even thinking about it. So I make a video critiquing that decision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't say anything crazy about the developer. I just say, you know, dude, this is just a completely ridiculous decision. I lay out my critiques, all that sort of stuff. EA bans me for 7 days for harassment because of that video.
Off-platform harassment?
Yes.
What's last?
And get this, I make a point to never type in the game or use VoIP or anything. I don't give them that opportunity to abuse that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So dude, holy fuck. It's so far gone. The Battlefield community is so far gone. You can't even like. And by the way, nothing's changed. I've changed zero about my behavior. If you want to permaban me, go right ahead, because you'll look like shit. Like, but
they would rather leverage having a temporary ban rather than a permanent ban and making you.
But get this,
because it would be
the
bad
fucking dude. It's even more petty than that though, because when they banned me, it directly coincided with one of those classic developer tweets,
Mm-hmm.
which is essentially, it's just a artsy picture with a bunch of text saying, "We won't support harassment against any of our devs," all that sort of stuff, right? You know, you've seen those posts from all sorts of games, right?
Yes.
Like Cyberpunk, when it was delayed, they put that post out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was just so targeted and just so like, it was so unjustified, and it was simply them showing that they can essentially do whatever they want whenever they want and get away with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it was ridiculous.
I've had a similar situation where Riot Freak justified someone calling me the N-word on my stream and ruining my games, and telling me, come on, you should just get over it. And I sat there the same way I did, because this is actually a thing that I do commonly. The videos that I release on the platform, those are Carl posts. I'm Carl and I shit post, therefore they're Carl posts. I fucking sat there, and I showed him the VOD of this guy for 11 minutes and 15 seconds, deciding that he was going to play the game up until the moment that he decided, no, you can't tax me anymore. And then for the rest of the game, for 25 minutes, called me every variation of the N-word possible that he could get by the censors. And then I looked at him. I looked at Freak. I looked at David Turley, right in his eyes, and I asked him, now explain to me, do we accept harassment and hate speech on this platform, or do we not? And he could not give me an answer.
Wait, was this in person?
Oh, I looked at him in the eyes through the fucking internet. Because I posted it directly at him on Twitter. He's not going to go onto a live stream and try to defend it, because you were trying to defend somebody using the N-word. You, as Riot Games, saying, we believe and protect our trans allies and our queer people, as we host a tournament specifically in Saudi Arabia. There's an inherent disconnect there. It's a little bit different than the situation you were in. Because you've destroyed something about the game, and instead of actually saying, listen bro, that was actually not that big a deal, you decided to get your big boy britches on and hide behind the company and give me a suspension. Okay, that's funny, but I'm gonna remember it forever. But this was okay, we have a philosophy, but I don't like this philosophy because I don't like you because you've called me out, and I don't feel like I have a word in to get past edgewise, but I realize the complexion on your skin is too dark for me to have a clapback, and there's no NB people in the office, so it didn't happen. And I'll say it didn't happen.
I sent you the video that got me banned, by the way. That's suspended. You can watch that on your own time. It's hilarious. Like, once you watch that video, like, yeah, I could have said things differently, right? Mm-hmm. But there was nothing in that video that is bannable at all.
I'm gonna imagine
you would have to suspend everybody. If this is the standard you're setting for a 7-day harassment suspension, you better suspend. I'm talking everyone, dude. You better suspend everyone on Reddit, every single player that I've ever played with, ever. Mm-hmm. Everybody. Yourself, suspend yourself, definitely.
It's one of those kinds of things that imagine if I watch it, it's going to be completely, I wouldn't say milquetoast. It's going to be like, bro, you fucked this up. Why'd you fuck it up like this? This shit is so bad. Oh my god, this is so stupid. But because they felt targeted.
The thumbnail is, this is so dumb.
But because, because they felt targeted, and they probably were a person who was directly responsible for that fucking discussion to move to change it, and they feel strongly about their position.
Yeah, I heard some fifis, right? Oh no. Mm-hmm. Oh god, you made a terrible fucking decision. That is awful. And I explained exactly why it was terrible. Yeah. Because I literally know more than you about the game, and I could probably replace you from a balance job immediately. If it from a conceptual standpoint, I wouldn't even, dude, holy fuck. The game would be so much better, I swear to god it would.
It's one of those, it's that situation where at that point it's like, all right, we might as well ban everybody who's on Reddit, might as well ban anybody who ever owned a Twitch account as well, especially if it's connected to the game. Just ban the account and ban the fucking Twitch account that's connected to the game too. Just, because if they're harassing them there, they're harassing him here. Like, it's so stupid. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like an open shut. There's no way that you can say that this is harassment. You're literally a baby. Get the fuck over it kind of situation. It's similar. But bringing us back to the topic at hand with Diablo 4. No matter what happens to Blizzard as a company, I should say Activision as a company, because Blizzard no longer exists. Blizzard North, Blizzard Central, as it was called. It's one of those companies like Ravensoft that gets made into like a factory, Call of Duty. You know those kind of companies I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They just get made into a Call of Duty system. I think it's 343 I might be thinking of. There's a bunch of them, but 343, Ravensoft, a bunch of those companies that get hollowed out, they become a shell company or like a auxiliary satellite company that develops all of these different spin-offs that just don't go anywhere and really are just made to keep out the Call of Duty machine grinding to a fucking standstill. It's one of those things that whenever you look at it, when you see other things and you finally touch something that's like, this game feels good. I don't want to hurt myself. When I log in, I can breathe through both nostrils, and I'm not getting the nose boogers. It's like, I went outside and I tasted ambrosia, and now, why would I ever go back? It's one of those situations. With things like, well, realistically, I think I could use Baldur's Gate as an example. Baldur's Gate 3, I don't imagine who's going to like that game except the people who are really horny for bear sex, and at that point, all I can remember for Baldur's Gate 3 before this controversy, if you had paid attention to it. Do you remember when they first released the test data for all the character creation software from the people who were playing the closed and open beta? But instead of actually being like, oh, here's the fun things that we can do in our game, they specifically threw a bitch fit about, we gave you all of these customization options. Have a good night, because you gave you all of these customization options, and you guys made basic bitch humans. We gave you demons, we gave you elflings, we gave you big titty high elflings with the pointy ears, and all you made was humans. It's one of those situations where it's like, I could buy your game, or I could play Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2. Or I could even pirate the old Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights.
Why would you do that?
Why would you pirate a game, Anon?
No, you can't do that. Why would you watch the UFC fights without paying for that? Why would you do that?
It's one of those situations where it's like a very, very, very philosophical difference. Just not just at the developer side, but also at the player side. Because very often, I don't think many of these developers actually play their game. Not actively. Not enough to the point where they can understand what the fuck is actually happening. So when you see a change, especially reaching all the way back to Nefiri, when you see a change and you see a champion like that, on the top of your head, you're like, maybe it'll be fun. But then when you play it, it's like, bro, this is fucking... What is this shit? Like, yes, this is great, but do you realize how fucking caustic this champion is? And it's like, what do you mean? This is fun. We designed this game for fun. And like, you make a compilation and a montage of all the bullshit ways you can abuse something. I'm sure there's been at least maybe 4 FPS players that is like, this gun is bullshit, and I'm about to show you why. In montage. And every single fucking string note is them getting a headshot or trick kill.
Dude, there was a gun in Battlefield 2042. There was a gun in Battlefield 2042 that released in Season 1 that was, I think to this day, the strongest, most overpowered fucking gun I ever added to a Battlefield that wasn't bugged or something, or a pickup weapon or something of the sort. Mm-hmm. And the only possible way that a gun like that gets put in the game is they quite simply do not understand the simple fucking math that comes with balancing damage ranges, TTK in milliseconds, and that's pretty much it. Like those 2 things right there. How fast does it kill? How fast does it kill out to these ranges? The weapon was called the BSVM. It's still fucking overpowered after 3 nerfs. That's how strong it was. The BSVM was a DMR. Okay, but it's a full auto DMR at 450 RPM that you could turn into an SMG at any point just by switching ammo types. It's a 900 RPM SMG now. You can just switch it back and forth. In DMR mode, on release, it could headshot, body shot you out to 150 meters, which is sub 200 millisecond TTK.
You can't see my face, so I'm gonna take a picture of it on my OBS because I'm listening to you describing this.
Sub 250 millisecond TTK out to 150 meters in a Battlefield game. Where's a video actually? Hold on. I need to show you. I haven't watched Release BSVM in a long time. But Release BSVM had to be fucking cursed because they cut the damage range of that weapon in a third, and it's still strong.
Like, I'm listening to you describe it, and I'm like, okay, DMR, okay, long range weapon, all right, it's supposedly weak.
No.
It turns into an SMG. No. Excuse me?
Here it is. Here it is, dude. Do I shut up and use the gun? Yes, I do. Oh my god, this gun, dude. This video's a year old now. This shit is fucking nuts. Yeah, no recoil, by the way. Just 0 recoil. Infinite versatility. Kill anyone at any range in 2 shots if you hit head body. If you don't hit head body, it's 3 shots. Whoop-de-fucking-do. He's already dead anyway. Dude, oh my god. I'm watching this gameplay. I cannot believe this is put in the game.
That's just unacceptable. What the fuck?
That's ridiculously unacceptable. You have to not understand basic fucking weapon balance. Or even better, and we're gonna go down the rabbit hole of this. Even better, they knew it was overpowered, and they put it in the game intentionally this broken because it's the new weapon in season 1.
Was it
because in my mind, if you are hired at a developer position specifically for weapon balance, and you put this weapon in the game, you are either A, unbelievably incompetent, or you're in on it and they told you to do it. I don't know. Those are the only 2 possibilities in my mind. There's no way.
This is fucking Revenant Caves level of egregious. I'm not sure if you know what that means. There's basically a JMod on RuneScape who was a part of a very high stakes PvP. He got a section of the wilderness involved in like a place that could give you more loot if you were skulled, but it also meant that you were easy pickings for clans to fucking player stack jump you. It was very egregious. Yeah. Like this is no, absolutely.
Oh
fucking
wait,
not.
I didn't even mention the best part. Oh my god. So every single barrel attachment on this weapon is suppressed.
Mm-hmm.
So you're off the radar, and then if you use subsonic high power ammunition, you're not only off the radar, but the people you shoot don't receive hit markers. They don't receive damage indicators when you hit them.
And this was intended as a long-range weapon, not a mid-range weapon?
Yeah.
They're fucking insane. This is a fucking assault rifle on a fucking sniper rifle.
This DMR out TTK'd most assault rifles in straight up 0 to 10 meters.
That's fucking unacceptable. It wouldn't even be acceptable if this was semi-automatic and it was trigger-based, where you just fucking slinging that shit like you got a bumper stock.
It would still be broken. It would still be broken if it was semi-automatic. But it's full auto. I hate dice. I hate that. I hate dice. That's all I have to say. I just hate that. You're fucking useless.
Goddamn. That's horrible. Oh my god.
And because of the plus system, the plus system allows you to change attachments for your weapons on the fly. So if you go to 428, you'll see me go from DMR mode to SMG mode, and I just start shredding people. Like I kill like fucking 10 people in this clip. It's hilarious.
What was the timestamp?
428.
428.
It's like I just switch ammo types and it's an SMG with 900 RPM. Like
okay. Running around the stack, running around the pylon, the box, going behind the box. Okay, kill zone. Multi-kill. And the chaos begins. And the aim stays the exact same no matter the atom type. It's the exact same spread.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm wrong on that. CQC is more inaccurate at range, but the way Battlefield 2042's gunplay works, the spread was so little that it realistically didn't matter. Oh, yeah. You're still reaching out with close quarter ammunition in this game farther on average than really any SMG ever would in any other Battlefield game. Like short range in Battlefield 2042 is like 75 meters. That's how stupid this game is.
That is
One of the nerfs
they going. Holy shit.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievably stupid. And this is only one. This is only one thing. Hold on. Wait a minute. I have a video that wait a minute. This is awesome. Oh, I haven't watched this video in forever. This is one of the most hilarious. Oh God, please just show me this. Oh, there it is. I found it. This is beautiful. It's timestamped, I believe.
Okay.
This is, oh god, this is pre-nerf 50mm super hind. The KD in the thumbnail, 203 and 0, that's not a clickbait thumbnail. I'm dead serious.
This was an attachment on a helicopter?
Yeah, this is, no. If you had to guess what kind of helicopter, what is that?
It doesn't look like it's a normal attack helicopter, is it?
It's a transport vehicle
Okay.
with a 50mm explosive cannon that one-shots infantry. And more health than an MBT. So it is quite literally a flying tank. With dual omnidirectional miniguns. And unlimited flares.
So you can have 2 people piloting 2 of these at a time.
No. You have the pilot, you have your gunner, you have your 2 minigunners, then you have 2 people repairing from the inside.
Okay.
And the piece de resistance is the fact that there was a repair tool bug that simultaneously was in the game while this thing was overpowered, and we were abusing both. So we were abusing the repair tool bug, which made it so the repair tool never overheated, on top of the fact that this was already fucking overpowered. So we would never die.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. I killed servers with this thing for a week, bro. And there were Reddit posts, and I did it for one reason. I did it so people knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
I did it so people knew about it. I didn't do it because I'm an asshole. I did it so they fucking nerfed it. Okay? And they did. They nerfed it, not because of me. Maybe because of me. I killed thousands. I mean, I'm talking thousands.
That's enough people to actually
Maybe tens of thousands have died.
If it's over hundreds of tens of thousands just from your player account alone, they're gonna look into it because they're gonna see a statistical anomaly.
It was over 10,000 in a week. Absolute. Potentially. I think, no, at one point we were keeping track. I might be able to find the tweet. I think in one day, the session KD for the day was, off the top of my head, was 803 and 5.
You could just live inside this vehicle forever. You never needed to reload?
Yeah, there's a 24/7 playlist where this vehicle was just available all the time. So we just queued that and we just, got in the vehicle and, yeah, the playlist was unplayable as a result of me, but that's okay. It's Dice's fault. It's Dice's fault. It's not my fault. I'm playing the game. These people made the game. They put it in the game, so it's fine, obviously. Surely they tested it, right? Surely they understand that they have a 50mm flying tank that one-shots infantry and is invincible. Clearly they didn't. So I needed to show them why it was so it's a problem.
Well, that sounds like something I'd do. But yeah, there's so many examples, especially when it comes to fucking people like Riot Freak who went from being on the fucking the NALCS desk to becoming a part of development, where it's like, you clearly don't play the roles that you're nerfing and buffing. You need somebody, just anyone inside of ILU. It doesn't matter even if you're listening to like the who's who. You need somebody like Tyler. You need somebody who's like me. You need somebody who's definitely probably going to be like you, who's going to be like a one-trick pony specifically for one class, because there's plenty of people who are one-trick ponies on something like that. No matter what game it is, you need to have somebody who's going to be a seasoned professional. You need somebody who is a seasoned
Most
veteran.
developers, in my experience, do not. Well, I don't know if it's most developers, in my experience, don't understand or maybe refuse to acknowledge that players that didn't even have any involvement in making the game know the game better than them.
Mm-hmm. Some of it comes from ego. I know that much for certain. There have been many people. I'm not sure if you know about him. Have you ever heard of a streamer called Brandon Nance? DM Brandon?
No.
If you were to look up several videos from a channel called The Other Frost, there is a timeline of videos that he has in his backlog when he first made himself into a person, when he became a proper full-fledged streamer, which was just of Brandon Nance. We call him BM Brandon, because this guy was nothing but negativity. Outed sex pest, did a bunch of shit abusing the people around him, but before then, he was a person who was directly involved with Hi-Res. he was a person who was on their analyst desk. He spent a significant amount of time with people who were developers for the game, people that are still mainstay developers there to this day. He got his way in being a part of their scene, and he was seen as like the professional pro. He was a person who was inside the scene. He had multiple friends on multiple teams who were playing in the pro scene, and he was a relatively decent player. But he used that to the detriment of trying to cover up his weaknesses. So what the other Frost did, because he was a person who played on his level, who was actually better than him, was he started taking these examples from his VODs, from him playing the game, before he eventually got banned for the things that he was doing. He made VODs of all the shit that he did. I'll actually look up one of them that I can give to you for example, because these are classical videos of not only what does it look like when a person doesn't understand their consequences, but also what does it look like when a person gets absolutely fucking dog-walked and embarrassed on their own turf. Frost. Where's some of the classic ones? You'd have to probably go back a couple of years. More than a couple. Been 2 years since, actually.
And we'll finish this point, and then I do need to skedaddle, but...
Okay, no problem.
I will bring up 2 of them. Let's go for the rage-baiting one. Because there's plenty of these, because he made a point of making an example of him specifically. But I'm trying to find one of the better ones. Here we go. Here's one of the better ones, and then here was the one that was specifically the final note in the coffin before everything went sideways for Brandon. Because they made a point of banning him publicly. You know, it's one of those Tyler 1 kind of bans. But it wasn't oh, we're just going to ban this guy because we dislike him. It's like, no. We're terminating all affiliation with you. We're taking everything about you out of this game. You will never play our game again, and you will never be allowed to stream our game again. Kind of bans. Like, you can't even play the game casually off camera, bro. You're done.
Damn. It's heavy.
But it's the kind of gameplay concept where it's like, okay, he talks a bunch of shit. And if you were to look up DM Brandon, you could probably find a bunch of fucking legendary flame moments where we just mock people like him, especially when he decided in his heart of hearts to go onto the pro stage and said, yeah, I'm like a pro player, I can compete against them. We gave him a warm welcome, bro. We gave him a warm welcome. But
farming.
There is a philosophy point I feel like every active serious player gets to, where it's like, I look at a patch change, I try to understand this patch change. I try to think to myself, why would you do this as a developer? We decide, okay, the developer clearly is trying to pander to a specific audience. In the case of something like Smite, there's no quote pandering per se. It's okay, here's a choice that's overperforming on the pro scene stage, but then here's something that is a pub stomping champion or a pub stomping god that clearly needs to be slightly tuned. It doesn't need to be nerfed into the ground. It just needs to be slightly tuned. And then, over across the pond, you can see a bunch of people that'll get upset about that. And it's like, do you not understand what the problem is? Kind of like we were discussing before. But then you'll have DM Brandon being like, bro, it's not a problem for me. In fact, I'm going to do an entire series A to Z. I'm going to play every god in the game, and I'm going to explain why that character's good and bad. He'll come along and be one of those people, right? And it's like, he'll never take you on a money match, though. If you ever does, he's only ever going to play amongst his audience, and he's only ever going to play in custom games with his own audience. And if they ever do anything that he doesn't like, he's going to ban you permanently because you made him look bad. When we got our hands on him, he did not like it.
You played Smite professionally, or?
I have. I've played it professionally because it came from Georgia. I live in Georgia. He started playing it very, 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 very early in its life cycle, when it was like at that right perfect sweet spot before everything kind of went sideways, but until he got banned. There was this very weird dark period where when the game started getting changed, because it was kind of old-ish. It's kind of like that Warframes versus New Warframes old, where it's like, this is an entirely different era of the game. I could actually pull up some of my old VODs from one of my side channels, actually, because I had playlists upon playlists for these kinds of games. And I think it should still be there. It's on one of these. Probably on the other account. 1 second. Yes, it's on this one. Had a bunch of fucking gameplay playlists of just what I would do on it and some of the things that took place in it.
like very, very, very old. Like people who used to play the game who have like one died of cancer, things like that. These kinds of things of gameplay, very weird time between what the game is now and what it used to be.
Okay.
Compared against there to what it is now, it's an entirely different game.
Yeah, totally different.
Entirely different. Some of the modes that I'm playing in here don't even exist anymore. Some of the gameplay designs exist here. These champions have been completely changed. They don't play the same, kind of like any other game you could get. It's just an entire different perspective. And he came from that time period because he is one of the people who was originally responsible for playing the game that way. He was like one of the people who made the name of it popular. Wasn't necessarily a good player at the time, but he was a person, he was behind the desk, you saw him. He was kind of actually like Freak in that way. If Freak did horrible things to women and men, but that's beside the point. He was kind of like the face in that perspective. And then when he started playing the game actively, it was something that people went to. But then when you started seeing the way that he spoke here, and then you compare this against what other Frost is showing in these videos of him doing, and then compare that to what he was having done to him by actual pros, it's like, oh, you were talking out of your ass the entire time? The entire time? The entire time? Damn, bro, that's tough. We're about to make this next hour of your life really bad, bro. I wish games had that perspective, where you can have people argue like that, right? You can have them talk however the fuck they want to on any platform. Do it. It's free. It'll probably make the game livelier. It'll actually probably bring more players. And then you let them deal with that shit at a tournament, or deal with that shit in a money match, or deal with that shit with like a bragging rights 1v1. It's chill. It'll be completely chill. Nobody will have any problems. Nobody will die, right? Yeah, Brandon? You make him embarrassed, he'll destroy your ability to grow. He will destroy your channel by constantly bad-mouthing you, because nobody will ever talk bad against him, and nobody can ever get a word in edgewise. So all it ever is your word versus his, and he's the bigger person. You're not. He'll try to talk shit about you to high-res themselves, so he'll try to fuck up your opportunities and potentials with the company directly. All the things that you would imagine.
He sounds like a real awesome guy, you know.
Oh, only the best. Only the best. Premium. Only the best kind of progressive that a Tesla driving Californian can buy. Just mwah. Just a beautiful human. Every so often, especially to bring it back to what we were doing before, the side argument before that argument. When you have all those people, and you try to have that conversation, right? That the toxic player versus the non-toxic player. Even if you look in these old videos, I have done a lot of growing from where I started with like the first channel I ever made before I just started over again and tried to move forward with the channel that I actually originally used for Let's Plays. And I have learned so much since then. But something that I have never been able to shake literally has a death grip on me. Like the thickest goth girl Dami Mommy with a side of briskets that she made on the oven herself. Just some real southern down-home cooking. Like, I'm gonna eat what you made and what your mama made. But what my mama made was me! Exactly! On the table! There is something that triggers in my head the worst I'm going to do X to you IRL in Minecraft than somebody who will tell me something that I know is wrong. I will show them the plot. I will show them the clip. I will bring them on the microphone. I'm like, alright, so let's look at this play. Let's look at what you did. Let's look at what I called for. And then you explain it to them. And if it's somebody who's especially like that, they're like known for being the guy who will do that shit. They either immediately clam up and it's like, I don't want to interact with this anymore. I feel like you're trying to get a gotcha out of me. Or you put them on the spot and you're like, wait a minute. Is that him? Oh, I'm gonna pick my perfect for this match. It doesn't matter if it's fighting games, it doesn't matter if it's MOBAs, it doesn't matter if it's like the ARPG PvP mode that ever exists that's like very nearly played. You find that person, you finally get them down, it's like, oh, was all that good shit we talking, baby? Was all that good shit we talking? They immediately clam up. I don't know what the fuck it is. They either immediately clam up or they go on the hostile attack and start pulling out whatever bullshit argument they have out of their ass. There is something that sends me fucking berserk. I don't know what it is, but something sends me berserk. Where it's like, you all of a sudden now, you were talking that good shit 5 minutes ago, but then I kicked in your bird chest,
metaphorically speaking. And now all of a sudden you coughing and shit. I thought you were about that life, good buddy. What happened? What happened, good buddy? I came here for some business. Now you either gonna give me the business or I'm gonna give you the business. Someone's getting the business. I don't know what the fuck it is. Whenever somebody claims some shit about that life, when it comes to things like this, when it's like those very significant changes to the fundamental way that the game is played, to understanding how the game is played, because I know somebody earlier in the game said this, where it's like, I think it was actually the Upgrade Lemon, specifically with the conversation of toxic players that can't be friendly in the public lobbies, and players that are casuals. There's something that fucking irritates me out of my soul. Professionals and pros, sometimes we're just looking for the opportunity where it's like, I just need one good lick. Just please, coach. Please, coach. I don't want to get fined $10,000. Please, just let me go off one good time. I swear, I won't do it again. I crossed the split. I promise. I promise. And then it's like, nothing's on the line. There is no stakes. I look to my left, look to my right. My coach is in here. It's just something that in those situations, when those people who are supposedly known for it are not about that life, or when it's a casual player that's talking real wild, and they're like, "Oh, you gonna bet me money?"
Yeah, Nept. That's my team leader. Nept, I am about that life.
Mm-hmm.
I will. Oh my god, it's bad too. I let it slip up once in Gundam too, where like we fucking catastrophically like threw a tournament or something. I think we got reverse swept. We had an unbelievable collective brain fart moment, like total and complete. I don't even know. It felt like I was asleep or something.
Mm-hmm.
Playing the game, you know what I mean? So it's like, and we're losing. It's like, oh, okay. I don't even know what happened, dude. There's just one little fucking. So in Gundam Evolution, there's a dude named Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And Gundam Evolutions, they fucked the entire game up. The official competitive scene by Bandai Namco, because the game wasn't released in certain regions, only the regions that were permitted to play the game could compete in the tournaments for money, blah, blah, blah. That means some tournaments from certain countries, some players from certain countries couldn't play and had to sit on the sidelines, da, da, da.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, there's a egos fucking clash, da, da, da. You understand how this is. Egos clash between players. Even players on the sidelines watch the gameplay, and you know they fucking hype themselves and be like, yeah, this isn't even fucking good. Da, da, da. And Legacy always did that, right? And to me, I don't do that. I don't sit on the sidelines and type in a Twitch chat and like go behind people's back and like shit talk and all this stuff. I will literally DM you. I'll DM you like, you're fucking shit. Like if I really have a problem or like we have a problem, I will talk to you directly. So Legacy, we're playing this tournament, whatever. He's watching the whole games. You know, we're in the finals. We get fucking reverse swept. By the way, we won 6 tournaments in a row by this point. So obviously people are rooting against us. And it was finally just that moment where like Legacy's like, oh yeah, they lost. I get to fucking, you know, say stupid shit in the chat.
He starts piling on because
and I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was so fucking pissed because I don't like losing even if it's close. Reverse swept. I was pissed for like 3 days. That like that's the competitor. Like I want to run that shit back, and we did. We won almost every single tournament that was left in that game, including one of the most proud finishes that I had. There's a big tournament called the Best of the West, and it was every best team in the game. And our team is big enough to where we got to enter 2 rosters. So we had 2 rosters, and we finished that tournament first and second. So the grand finals was our team against our team, right? That was fucking sick. But anyway, Legacy's in here talking shit after we got reverse swept. I'm fucking pissed. I see him in the Twitch chat, and there's something about that just like, how are you you're not even playing. You haven't played. And me personally, you're not better than me. So who are you even talking to? So I fucking went off on him. I said some stupid ass shit. I might have hit him with the low tier god a little bit, potentially, in front of the entire competitive scene, and that wasn't good. But then again, he never competed after that because he's a pussy. So you know. That was really bad. I haven't done that since, and I won't. But yeah, that particular situation, all chains were all shackles were dropped off of my arms. I was like, okay, no, I will type anything that I want in this moment. Like, oh my god, it was so bad.
There's plenty of times where you get a heated gamer moment, especially when it's a fucking negative Nancy sitting on the sidelines talking shit. I think the worst I've ever had it, I'm not sure if you've ever heard about Dungeon Fighter Online. You might have heard of DNF Duel, which was the game designed by the same developers that developed Dungeon Fighter Online. But the serious and professional side of Korean MMO grinder PvP tournaments, when every single fucking person who's entered into the tournament is playing the female variant of your class, you know it's bad. Because, obviously,
oh yeah,
anytime you play any Korean MMO game, the male classes are usually about power, the female classes are about options and utility and support, which means they have more options than the males, and if your class is something very, very niche, or it has a particular setup, but this particular thing is the domain of another class, all of which the female fighter can do at the base stat before you ever involve things like Dragonite and shit like that. It's one of those days where it's like, I woke up today and I'm drinking a full bowl of shit with a side of fucking ass. Because you know it's gonna be hard. There are times where most players, especially if it's something like the fighting game community playing something like DNF Duel, because it is not the same thing. I know some people are like, it's the same, it's literally like the same game. It is not the same. There's shit in that game that you're never gonna fucking see in DNF Duel, because if it was in that game, it would be fucking illegal. You would feel like, what am I supposed to do? I literally can't touch a button on my keyboard because I'm permanently in a form of CC lock. It's disgusting. I think the best way that I can compare it is comparing DNF Duel content, or the grappler, to what the grappler male and female plays like in the game. Basically, off the ground, all the time, every time. If you touch the ground and you're not in the state to be able to get out of wake up, just quit. You're done. You're done. You're in a combo for 15 seconds. You're not getting out. It's like watching yourself get destroyed in Tekken by King and Armor King, except there is no way to counteract the button presses. It's just a question of did they drop the combo or not. And they never drop the combo, because there is a buff that gives them the ability to have OTG grapple off ground automatically. So they can slide into the combo. It doesn't matter if they're a frame off. I slid into it, bitch! I got you! You're done! Now, I was a Swordmaster player, because I was one of those autistic people that said, oh yeah, I can play the Swordmaster, I have 5 sword types, I can learn this. Each one has a unique standard. The only one that is really usable for real competitive use is the short sword and the bludgeon. I said no. Give me that 5 sword style combo. Because technically, the class in itself has a bonus that if you switch your weapons in combat, stacking, like you consistently keep uniquely changing your weapon, you will get a stacking buff up to about 30% of your damage. Most people, when they're playing through the dungeons, they're too much lazy. They'll choose like the lightning sword and one other weapon type, and they will maximize those permanently, because the weapon buff itself, if you don't use it at all, is a loss of stat, but it's something that's increased inherently with your level as you level. So you don't have put stats into it, but people don't use it because they think it's too hard. When you're facing people who can do combos like that to you, you have to learn how to do this thing that's called a warp grab, which it sounds like what it is. It's technically a bug that was discovered in the NA version of the game that was technically like half patched in the Korean version. It's you get this thing called a steel skill, which gives you the skills of like the lower class types of the other subclasses of your character. So the swordsman class, the Slayer, had at this time 4 subclasses he could go into. The weapon master was the one that had the ability to use all different weapon types, but he had to specialize in them by specifically leveling them manually. But as you leveled them, you get special benefits to that weapon type. So if you were doing all the weapon types, you were putting a lot more of your bonuses into the weapon effects than necessarily the skills themselves. But they had very unique benefits that each one benefited from. For the bludgeon and the lightning sword, for example, the Bludgeon Sword had shockwaves. Every attack now had shockwaves. So where normally you use a weapon like a katana, which its effect was bleeding, which, oh, that's definitely useful in PvP. But what's better than the fact that I combo you with a Bludgeon Sword, and then I comboed you with the short sword, which had the ability to have an inherent juggle state that permanently reset your grounding status. So there was a feature where if you combo for too long and you don't reset the grounding status correctly, it will automatically meteor them to the ground to forcibly reset the combo, which grapplers ignored because you're on the ground, it's already reset. When I competed in my first tournament, when it was still being ran by Next Level America, horrible company for fucking game portals, by the way. I feel bad for any person who's ever played MapleStory, who still is addicted to that company. The games are fun. Just play a private server, I promise you. They had quit developing the game and gave up because they weren't making enough money to justify the system that they broke around the release of the Suju content, which was like, I think 4 or 5 years ago at this point. But at the time, the prevalent class was the female and male fighter and the female Spitfire, which was like a gunslinger class who specialized in grenades and other types firearms and sidearm effects for her grenades and bullet types. I was playing the Swordmaster and the Ashura class, which is basically like a male caster whose ability to cast is based on using super armor to get his abilities off. He had some combo ability that had a specific type of weapon you needed to use. You had an ice wave that could freeze people in place and set up for combos, but you needed to have a fire sword to instantaneously break the ice, otherwise you couldn't combo off of it. All of the opponents were playing nothing but female fighters, and they were playing Nen, which is basically it's like Chun-Li, but she gets a fucking lightning dragon and a bunch of other effects, as well as the ability to fly around the room with those lightning effects. And lightning is a status effect that if you get hit by it, you're gonna take bonus damage based on the power of the electrocute, and the electrocute in PvP wasn't always balanced correctly. For the Swordmaster,
you die.
Yeah, yes, basically. Like, and that's the worst part. The Nen character, for the female and the male, but the female specifically, all of hers have giant AoE spears and a fucking Nen shot she can shoot across the screen as a giant Hadoken that you usually can't avoid, because even though the game was based on 2.5 combat, where you were still playing in like this arcade style beat 'em up system where you could walk up, down, bilaterally across the map in multiple directions, most of your skills locked you into a single position on the XYZ axis that you could not move out of. But the Swordmaster could be able to move out of them, or at least had super armor to get through them. Another class was abusive for that was like the Monk class. Eventually when it got over to the Korean side, there was the Troublemaker, a bunch of things that like Maximilian Dude's probably famous for playing now. But back then, those were the ones that you had. It was either the Dragonite, it was the female classes, it was the Launcher classes, it was the Spitfire classes, or it was one of the variations of the functional swordsman classes that could be worked, which was almost always Berserker. Nobody ever dared to play the other ones because they didn't always have super armor. If you got caught lacking with super armor, which many people forgot to fucking level, you just die. I was facing 4 competitors, all of them playing every single variation of the female subclasses. The Grappler, the beat-em-up brawler fighter, who basically has really powerful kick strikes and attacks that can put you into various states of knockdown. She can combo a lot, but she's not as egregious as the Grappler. She had the Fireball type, and then, I forget, was it an Assassin type? Or am I thinking of the Kunoichi? I might be thinking of the Kunoichi, I'd have to look it up, but a lot of fucking bullshit things, because they all had steal skills that basically let them use all of those very broken skills that the fucking fighter had, and almost all the broken skills came from the Grappler, the Striker, and the Nen Artist. Just specifically for the attack that let them go kicking around the screen with the electric effect, because the electric effect was tied to a different type of damage than that kick damage, and it was very easy to combo off of. The only way to win was to be able to hold your combo for at least 15 shots, because since you're swapping between your set styles, you have to put them in launch. That's short sword, that's Zanpak To, which was the giant fucking sword, and it was your bludgeon. Then you needed to put them in a state of status effect. That was lightning, and that was katana. And you needed to either set them into the bleed effect by using the special bleed attack combo that was specific to the katana, or you needed to be able to hold your combo with the way that you use your special sword technique, which was SST. It was very busted in dungeons because you just spam it Because many people, it had a 6-hit window. It could be comboed into normal attacks. It was the whole thing. But in the PvP mode, it actually had a specific cooldown that you needed to combo well enough into that you could be able to get the combo to reset off of the attack so that it was ready for you to use again. And you have to do this between 5 weapons. It's already hard enough to think about doing this with like 2, because you're using the bludgeon to OTG them off ground, and then you're using another weapon to cause the status effect. At the very least, you're using katana and you're using bludgeon with maybe either the lightning sword at specific moments for certain skills to trigger the lightning damage, which there's plenty of ways to get on top of them as a sword master, but you didn't always have the ability to keep the combo, because for all of the comboing, you had to manually do it with your skills that did not have super armor. So if you drop your combo, you better be able to move out of the way. And we did have attacks that allowed you to do like a backstep or whatever, which did have an OGT launcher off of it as well, but you needed to be good with the launcher. I remember I made a thread on the official Nexon forums where I offered to teach people how to play my particular 5-sword style technique. And I remember I faced one of those people that actually came in for a lesson, and he had designed a fighter specifically to mix up my character. I think we were in a best of 5, and we got down to 4 out of 4 for the final round. I had to pull out every bit of my secret strat knowledge as I could to win, and it was not an easy one either. I had to win by chip out. I had to put him in a state.
Oh my god!
I had to put him in a state of OTG where he was basically being held in the middle of a multiple wind wheel slash attack with the lightning sword, and I basically had to chip out his health bar using the lightning and bleeding effects before he could get back up, because this guy was on my ass. He was on my ass. Anytime I tried to hit a combo, he tried to drop the combo as hard as he could with like a force skill that lets him get off ground and immediately use a different attack. Because there's a skill that the grappler has that is basically a tornado lariat suplex. If they grab you off ground inside of it, even if you're in the down state, they can just automatically start doing it and combo it in other skills. So every single time I put him on the ground, his wake up was that skill every time. And even if I dodged it, he just used it to feint for another skill. It's like, I got your backdash! And into the fucking mixer I go. So after
I could never play these fucking games, dude. I just couldn't. I just rage-inducing. Holy fuck.
It's more rage-inducing than any game you could ever play as a MOBA, because it's only PvP at that particular point. Because the way that you play the game normally is supposed to prepare you for that mindset, but nobody
Fighting
plays
games are a different type of rage, though, bro. It's just different.
It's a different space. It's a different headspace. Because we weren't just playing like across the LAN or at different tables. This motherfucker's side by side with me, and he's in my fucking ear every single time.
Yep.
It's like, are you gonna go for the 10-piece? You're gonna go to 15-piece, Carl? You gonna pull out that bludgeon? I got the bludgeon answer. You gotta hit the bludgeon. Oh, he went for the Zanpakuto. Pussy. It was so frustrating because in the back of the room, on his side of his camp, is a fucking Nexon NA employee who had the opinion that, oh, you could never truly be able to play the tournament with any of these other classes that aren't any of these mainstays. You couldn't ever play and win without a composition for the Slayer character that isn't the Berserker or isn't the Spirit Master. And it irked me, because this motherfucker played the easiest class in the game. I'm trying to remember it exactly at the time what the fucking class was called before they renamed it. But it was a priest class. It wasn't the Crusader. Exorcist. Yes, this motherfucker was a physical exorcist, which basically is a giant weapon attack class. They have multiple forms of grabs and multiple forms of super armor attacks. They basically can press 2 buttons and they clear a room. They go into PvP, they have so many answers for knockdown and pushback, even if they don't use the magical side of their skill tree, that it's literally I press button and win the game. I constantly hit you with a giant throwing weapon attack that zones you automatically. The weapon projectile progresses and holds on the screen. If you get stuck in it and you don't have a form of super armor to break out of it, it acts as a soft grab hold, so I can charge up for another attack. They have an attack called Star in the Sky that sounds exactly what it sounds like. It's a batter up attack that if you get hit by it, you get launched. And the way that launches worked in that game is that you got launched. You didn't get launched and like put at a random position. You got launched and put on a particular position on the map, and if you got launched against the wall, you were permanently stuck against the wall, and your hitbox extended infinitely upwards. This person... Oh, so basically, imagine I hit you in the center of the screen. You're going to go a specific distance in the opposite direction away from me, and you get placed on that side of the wall. But if they put you in a corner, because these, of course, it's a true fighting game. There's corner combos. I put you in the corner, and I sits you, star in the sky you. If I sits you, you go into the wall, but your hitbox is still attackable from my position, because my class has an attack technique that's called Hidden Dragon Leaping Tiger that allows me to charge my weapon attack, and I can hit a normally inaccessible point of the area on the YXZ axis above me that no other class can technically hit, with the exception of, you guessed it, the female Nen, with a giant Nen ball that covers the screen.
Fun.
If I hit you in this battle state, I automatically reset your grounding. Do I hear an infant, buddy? I hear an infinite, buddy.
Yeah, infinite, yeah. So it's an infinite combo, and yeah, don't drop it, basically.
It's called a sits, because that's what they say when you get into it. Once I catch you, sit! You leave. Get up from your table and go back to the loser's queue. You're not getting out. Except there was one class that could get out, and it was the Swordmaster, because he wasn't safe on block from doing it, because the Swordmaster, if you have the Zanpakuto class, gets super armor on their knockback skill, and the knockback skill and the special Slayer technique skill interrupted super armor. I could eat super armor and take it from you. Not many people knew that because nobody used the Zanpakuto. I did. And the Zanpakuto had the exact same shockwave effects as the bludgeon. So, what this player did is that he knew about a couple of my styles, but he didn't know about the Zanpakuto tech. So, when it was obvious to me that he was going to constantly parry my short sword attacks, he was going to avoid my lightning sword attacks, especially my lightning sword draw, which is a giant, like, instantaneous draw attack.
You said, you know what? Fuck you.
An instantaneous sword attack across the screen that basically, if you get hit by it, depending on what you get hit by, you either take a significant hit stun, you get hit stun and bounced if you get hit by the Zanpakuto or the bludgeon, which is what I had to use to counter some of this. If you get hit by the lightning, you get lightning shot. It was a permanent 100% chance proc. If you get hit by the katana, a 100% bleed proc, and if you get hit by the short sword, I could use it to combo into a Rising Dragon attack that usually has like a 3-hit combo, but with the short sword and with the bludgeon, it could be extended to a 5-hit. And they were multiple hits, so technically if I hit you with one part of it, I'm hitting you with 5 attacks. Your health is going to disappear. This guy did not know about the Zanpakuto tech. So, when he went from his fighter to his physical exorcist, because he had a hybrid. Magical exorcists have super armor on cast, but they're very stationary. Physical exorcists can have some level of moving around because they can use the weapon swing attack as basically a zoner and a pusher to create distance so they can start charging their attacks, because they're all about charge states. If they can't charge, they can't hit. Every single time this man went for his hits, I took his super armor. I took his super armor and I put him in a 50-hit combo. He did not like this. So he decided to answer this. He was going to pull out his grappler. And his grappler had the Nen steal skill, had her Nen shot, maxed out as high as he could get it, so even though he didn't have the charge, I get hit by that, half my health. Half my health. And,
What a fucking bastard.
he had the, charge ability for, I think it was the fucking Christ. Hellcat, that's what I'm forgetting. The female fighter had a Hellcat class that could be able to throw a brick at you, and that brick had hit stun. Oh, how could I forget about the brick? They had a brick that they could throw at you that could cause a significant amount of stun that could set up for all the combos that they could do. This man did not like the fact that I kept stealing his super armor, so he decided, I'm going to put you on the ground and you're going to wish that I break my combo. And I said, bet. I pulled out my tech. He only hit me with 1 brick, because there's also a guard skill that the Slayer can use that barely anybody ever uses. And with the Zanpakuto and the short sword, if you block a skill and they keep attacking you, a force push, it's hard to describe. It's a gust of air will come out, charged from their attacks, that will deliver their attack value back to them and put them into a state of juggle. Every single time he went for these attacks, I cast my super armor. I blocked majority of his combo and also countered some of his combo. But when he went for the specific brick, the brick always procced a 100% force push. So he hit with the brick and tried to go into an end shot, and he took 80% of his bar every time.
Mhm.
He was not happy, and neither was that fucking employee. And I looked over once I won my sets versus him on that fucking 10 set. And I looked over, and I asked them, so, we buffing the Swordmaster or what? I expect a nerf by the time I get back home, and that's gonna happen in a week, so, you better hop skip to that shit. Better not see you at the fucking regionals, bitch! And I walked away. And then, when I got back home, on back out.
Fighting game rivalries have to be so funny, dude. Holy fuck. Because I know about, like, you know, Foxy Grandpa versus fucking Sonic Fox in particular games. I just think it's hilarious that you actually have to sit next to the person.
It's
like,
the greatest. It's the greatest mindfuck because I shouldn't say it because we shouldn't admit that it's true, but it happens all the time. There are so many African American players, and it's not even just African American. It's so many people who live in the South, where you can have the most vicious slurs thrown back and forth on the controller, but once the round's over, it's like, you want that reset? You go, I want that reset, baby. Let's go, and right back to the slurs. But not a single person will get shot. No one will get stabbed. Nobody will get their hair pulled. Nobody will get dragged across the floor and fucked up with their hairdo. Nothing. Go north to a convention like Anime Matsuri, or shit, even go across to something like E3. The amounts of fights that have been had in just the training room over a $10 bet. I bet you can't beat my characters.
Yeah, it's just like I can't even believe that shit. It's fucking hilarious.
Equivalent to a gang war. Equivalent to a gang war.
The fighting game egos are crazy.
Because, like, on one hand, it's like, yes, we put money on the line. Of course we're going to bet during friendlies. Why wouldn't we? But at the same time, if you see it and you're not prepared for it, you're going to think, these people are going to swing. They're going to swing, right? Oh, they ain't swinging? Okay, no problem. Oh, here comes this 5'6" big goth girl with giant tits. She's not going to do it. Oh my god, she just haymaked him in the chin! You never expect it. And if some of the development...
I dated a goth girl with big titties before. Let me promise you, they're just unpredictable.
The BPD really do be hitting.
It's kind of it's unbelievable.
And when you play the fighting games, it gets amplified. They transform into an entirely different person.
I played Injustice against her a couple times, and I mean, she literally started punching me. She started, but like I started, I don't know, I don't even know, like I've never played Injustice before, but because I am mechanically inclined, and I warned her of this, I go, do you understand that I play video games for money, right? And she was like, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass anyway. I was like, okay, fine, that's totally fine. So I basically brute forced my way into learning something, right? I mean, I'm still dog shit by any sort of standard, but it was enough to put her into a corner. I don't know, I played Shazam, maybe?
Ooh.
I played Shazam. And listen, I beat her, right? And you know, you know how fucking girls are. They will hit you. It's like playful, but it's funny.
It's like, in their mind, it's a playful love pat, but you're fucking rubbing your arm like, were you a boxer in another life?
Yeah, it's kind of like, fuck. Oh, okay, I do need to go to bed, though.
Yeah, no problem.
Good talks. I'm gonna follow you on Twitter, because you're not a fucking spastic, so that's cool.
True. And, if you are up to it, when that... Because I'm gonna actually find the fucking, post right now on Path of Exile, because I need you to see the light. I need you to see the light, at least. Just once in your life. Taste the Nirvana. Because
the light of what?
The clear difference between the Diablo 4 and Path of Exile.
Oh, I'm sure I'm all for Path of Exile. I really am.
Mhm.
The problem is, if I get into that game, my life is over. It is. It's done. Like I can't.
Have you had a past addiction with autism simulators?
No, it's just I'm the type of guy that I'm a fucking gamer, dude. Okay, I game, I grind, I see the build that I want to have, I figure out the best in slot gear, and I just get, you know, I get super invested in it. You know, I'm grinding, and it's not good. Like Diablo's the most I can handle, but I would absolutely, definitely, probably like Path of Exile a lot.
I'm willing to wait because they say the date for the new expansion has not been locked in yet. It's probably going to be done after ExileCon. ExileCon is currently going on right now. It started on the 23rd. It should have been done by now.
There's a whole con.
Oh yes, ExileCon. Game that old as this? Oh god. Actually, I'm wrong. It hasn't started soon. It literally started or will start in the next 2 days. And they'll also be releasing the upcoming patch expansion information around there, as well as things about Path of Exile 2, which that's not even in the fucking cards yet. But around that time, if you're up to it and you want to do it on camera, we can play Path of Exile, and I will try my best to help you through the same thing that Strife Hayes has tried to help people with. Because I promise you, you get over that fucking skill tree, you're going to have a wonderful time. You don't even have to play it seriously. You can just play it fucking casually.
I'm legitimately not worried about the skill tree.
Okay.
I'm not. Like, I'll figure it out.
And just to touch back on the points of what brought us here in the first place, because I saw earlier in the chat, I'm not sure if he was one of yours, because he wasn't one of mine.
Probably one of mine.
Gasman lol. What are you guys talking about?
Yes, Gasman. Gasman is one of my teammates.
Yes. The problem with games, if we want to put a giant fucking catch-all on this, it is not good players ruining the game. It is the people who will talk braggadocious, the people who will be toxic, who will not keep the same energy when they're challenged, and the people who call themselves pros that say they want to foster the environment, who, when given the opportunity to teach, don't want to teach, that ruin games. Those are the people who kill games to the ground. And we agree to disagree on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
No, I mean, it's not even disagreeable. It's just like pretty basic statement, honestly.
Like everything past that is water under the bridge. It is literally Mikasa Tsukasa Kumbaya.
And I misinterpreted what you meant about that initial tweet. If I interpreted it the way that I figured out later, I wouldn't even have I wouldn't even have commented. I'm like, oh yeah, well he's just like he cooked.
Because it's if you've never been there, it's going to be hard to understand, but if you know what it's about, but you misinterpret it, it's going to come off wrong, which is the reason why I record myself when I say these things. Because a lot of people confuse things when text, and they will infer things that they don't mean. So I started recording myself.
Text creates a whole fucking slew of problems. It really does.
So what I started doing is I started recording myself giving these takes live on air, or where I am when I see the take, recording them and responding to them. I prefer to do it in front of my computer, because it's like, here's your tweet, here's what you said. Tell me what I misinterpreted. And usually when I start doing that, people are like, well bro, you're just taking me out of context. Really? There's the context. What did I misunderstand? And I didn't think it was that situation, but at the same time, the level of energy that was being tossed back and forth, and then there were some people that were coming along. Not everybody, but there were some people coming along. And it's like,
they're gonna see.
Yes, they're just gonna see
tweet.
What you're saying and what I'm saying, and they're gonna be like, he put a video there. I'm not watching that. And it's like, so if we're not gonna engage with what I'm saying, then why are we here? So at that point, it's like, okay, we might talk with. Hi Jade. We might talk with it, and if we do that, then it's like, okay, so we have a disagreement somewhere. There's something that either we've had a miscommunication, or we have two different perspectives. So I want to hear what your perspective is and hear what world you came from. And then once we got towards that point, it was just a meeting of the minds. There's literally no problem. I'm sorry for everybody who came looking for like there to be a fight. But
I came with no intention for there to be a fight. I can't.
Like I didn't have the energy for it. I didn't have the energy for it. If it was gonna be like, it's like, okay, I love you, no problem. Do what you want. Okay.
I can't even be fucking.
But yeah, everything's chill. Everything's
bothered.
Cool. Well, thank you for taking on this discussion. I'm probably gonna like upload this once my channel allows me to upload something. Just
Yeah, it's
if you feel comfortable doing that.
I am in front of an audience every single day. Yeah, it's there's a YouTube video of mine that goes up in 2 hours. So it's
See, it's ironic that you say that, because ironically enough, the last time somebody tried to have a discussion with me, there was a person who basically tried to ruin my game experience and call me an N-word in League of Legends. Ironically enough, this person.
And you tried to communicate with this person.
Oh yes, I tried to communicate with him.
That was your first mistake.
Yes.
That was your first mistake, was attempting to communicate with this person.
Mm-hmm. But what happened is that this person was a moderator for literally who YouTube.
Reddit.
I don't even know if they were a Redditor. They felt like a fucking Redditor the way they behaved afterwards, when it's like, okay, so I have you on tape, I have the VOD, because I did a whole breakdown stream about it. I can actually just pull up the fucking highlight part, because the Fleen Cringe one is lamer, and what they ended up doing after I caught them dead to rights was they tried to delete the interview VOD that they had with me. So they invited me onto their stream to talk to me after having been fed misinformation by the moderators that were there, who were part of the heckling and harassing raid stream that tried to ruin a stream of League of Legends I had. This streamer brought me on to try to talk to me about what was said, and brought me on with the understanding of, oh, well, I knew who you were, and I saw what you did and what you posted on Twitter, because this was actually around the time that I was talking directly to Riot Freak, and he was trying to justify racism, right? What his audience told him was opposite from what he actually said and did. So his audience tried to harass me. Then they tried to spam my chat and invade and raid my stream with a hate raid for 3 streams. I caught them on 3 separate just average League of Legends players. I caught them on 3 separate occasions doing it. I'm gonna finally found it. Pull it up here. And I actually have there in the, I think it's not in this, no, it's in the comment section. Here in the comment section, the actual narrative flip they did in real time, which you can actually see here from this breakdown if you just want to read the Twitter version of this. It's actually a very simplified thread line, because I had to do all of this shit on the fucking fly while documenting it, because the narrative went from, we harassed you on behalf of one of our chatters, to, no, I was a single lone agent. I am not responsible for everybody else. I literally was only doing this on my own. Nobody else was accountable. And it's like, hold on, hold that thought. Click, 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 click. Let's go to the VOD. What's that? What's that? What's that? Whose name is that? Whose name is that? Whose name is that? Because the person was told...
Well, isn't this just interesting?
Yes. Because the person was told that I was a fucking spurg, right? But then when I came on, I was completely different in energy. Because why the fuck would I just be spurging if I'm just spurging for no reason? That doesn't make sense to me. That sounds like some Twitch debate bro shit, which is probably why they said that. But then I went back, because I don't know if you do this, but I always go back and I look at my performance on other people's content, just because I look at myself and I'm like, okay, I handled this good here. I could learn how to do this from here. Because I'm the kind of person that I study everything I do to try and get better at it. Not just video games, but also in life. Because I wanted to see how I performed, and lo and behold, the VOD was missing. Like, I watched the VOD at the time after I had been on air with him, and I found the particular section in which his chat room was bad-mouthing me to him and telling misinformation and lies to. And if you actually get this particular thread, you can see with a majority of what they were sending to me. It's right there in that first screen cap on that particular tweet. I caught his audience lying to him, and him basically talking shit about me before the interview. So I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm gonna address this when I get up tomorrow. I get up to stream that day. I open up the exact link because I had saved it, but I had neglected to download the VOD first with a VOD ripper. VOD was gone. Particular. Did the stream. All of a sudden, as I start going through the backlog, because I never got rid of my original VOD, I had to take down the VOD, but I kept the VOD back up on the website in a way that I could be able to view it. I downloaded it physically so that they could not try to fucking hate raid and then report the VOD itself for all the things that they had done, because they'll ban you for that on Twitch. They can hate raid me, and then they will ban me for the things that they posted in my chat. Wild shit.
I love Twitch.
I love Twitch!
I love it.
They tried to get me banned that way. That didn't work because I was too smart for them. Then, when I brought up and I was showing, you know what Solinome is, right? Solinome.com. It's just a Twitch website that you use. I showed the length of the stream and the actual length of the file in question, and I showed, okay, this is the same stream, the same start time, the same end time, the same length, right? Here's where I'm playing League. Here's why I switch over after these people have hate rated me, and I start playing old school RuneScape to try and untilt myself and calm my nerves. I show every single thing that happened, step by step, from the beginning of the stream all the way towards the end of the stream. Motherfuckers got to the point where it's like, you should give us the VOD. You should give us the VOD so we can access it. I'm like, motherfucker, we're watching it live. Why don't you want to see the action happen in real time? That's weird. And then eventually he comes into the chat room and he's like, well, I took the VOD of the interview down because I accidentally doxed myself. And it's like, motherfucker, I'm not stupid. If you wanted to have the interview, you could literally have gone to your stream highlight, gone into the highlighter, and cut out just the fucking section of the before, middle, and after of the interview, and have separated that from your 24-hour fucking stream broadcast, which that was what he was doing in the middle of it. He was doing a 24-hour fucking grind stream, and of course he was a fucking silver player, but that's neither here nor there. He got mad that his audience hate rated me. He was upset that I had evidence of them hate rating me, and then he got personally offended that he didn't get particular content he wanted out of me, and he couldn't clip chimp it to make it worse. So when I held him accountable to that, he bitched up, his mods bitched up. I think one of his mods actually got banned. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure, but they were complaining and getting mad at me randomly one day in my DMs, and I just ignored it, because anytime you have people who come in from games like that, they'll clog up your unbanned requests with a bunch of fucking bullshit. Got mad about it, and then proceeded to have a hate campaign about me, where he bitched about it for like a week and a half, and then nothing else came about it from it. It was the cringest shit ever. But in terms of what I expected to hear, I'm like, if this guy doesn't behave like this, we're golden. I have no concerns. And unfortunately it wasn't, so it's great, it's cool. Also, thank you for talking to me. I enjoyed the conversation. Been talking for like 3 hours and 38 minutes.
Yeah, it's no problem. I actually figured that this would go like this because this is, in my experience, literally how it goes all the time. If the other person you're talking to isn't an actual complete deranged lunatic, so
yes,
yeah,
and yes,
appreciate the time. I need to go to bed.
No problem.
You'll probably be able to catch me really at any fucking time.
Feel free to fucking sponsor yourself. You have my blessing.
I don't need to do that. I appreciate it.
I respect it.
That's okay. it's fine.
Okay.
I have a Discord if you want to join it.
Okay.
A lot of people in there talking about stupid shit. It's a great time.
Okay.
I stream every day. I've done that for 5 years. Literally, I'm not even kidding. Yeah, I'll stream tomorrow. I'll get mad at Battlefield, and you can watch me get mad at Battlefield. Yep, that's what's gonna happen. So.
No problem. Any other closing thoughts?
Games suck, and they should make better games.
Yes.
They should stop making bad games and make good games. What do you think?
I want good games that run on lower hardware with shittier graphics, paid for with love by an intern.
So based. Everything you just said is so based.
Not kidding.
Just based.
I want my games to play like Dark Cloud 2 for the PS2, the way that I emulate it on my PC.
One thing Battlefield has never gotten right is the settings. The settings. Dude, I understand Battlefield is this immersive at the dead. People want to fucking run around and oh my god, the pretty lights and the colors and oh wow. Cool. It runs at 35 FPS. Do you understand? The low settings are ultra for some games. You need to do it. Have an option for a super high-res texture download that is additional content for the game. It's not even paid. You know how some games do that? Just make the game run better, for God's fucking sake. I can't. I have to build a new computer guaranteed for the next Battlefield. Now that's fine because it's deducted on taxes, right? So I get to go fucking crazy in the computer. I don't even feel bad about it whatsoever. But it is an actual routine act to build an entire new computer for the next Battlefield game, because we all know that if you want to get playable FPS and play on low and have a competitive FPS, like, I don't know, fucking 200 plus, you are going to have the 5090 Ti with the fucking 8800 XK motherfucker chip, overclocked to 97 gigahertz with the new RAM in special timings and a stripped OS. Okay, that's what's you need that for the next Battlefield. And that's my closing statement. Stop making shit games. Simple as that.
Based.
Zay Steven. And with that, I leave.
No problem. I've got a friend.
I'll see you later, dude.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the man, the myth, the legends himself. Oh shit. Pulling out my shirt. That was the man, the myth, the legend himself, Enders. This goes to show you that it is indeed possible for gamers to connect and collide. Not always does every argument on Twitter need to end with people muting and blocking each other. We can be able to see eye to eye. And truly, we are truly all gamers that are pushing closer to the edge, about to break.